this is an iHeart podcast. Guaranteed human.
Hey everyone, it's Emily Simpson and Shane Simpson from the Legally Brunette podcast.
Each week, we're bringing you true crime through a legal lens.
Whether you want all the facts on the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie, or you still need to wrap your head around the Diddy verdict, we're breaking it all down step by step.
And we're not just lawyers, we're also husband and wife. It makes for some pretty entertaining episodes.
Listen to Legally Brunette on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
You know Roald Dahl. He thought up Willy Wonka and the BFG. But did you know he was a spy? In the new podcast, The Secret World of Roald Dahl, I'll tell you that story and much, much more.
What?
You probably won't believe it either.
Was this before he wrote his stories? It must have been.
Okay, I don't think that's true.
I'm telling you, the guy was a spy.
Listen to The Secret World of Roald Dahl on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
The more you listen to your kids, the closer you'll be. So we asked kids, what do you want your parents to hear?
I feel sometimes that I'm not listened to. I would just want you to listen to me more often and evaluate situations with me and lead me towards success.
Listening is a form of love. Find resources to help you support your kids and their emotional well-being at sounditouttogether.org. That's sounditouttogether.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and Pivotal.
Hi, I'm Danielle Robay, host of Bookmarked, the podcast by Reese's Book Club. And this week on Bookmarked, we're basically hosting the ultimate girls' night. Reese Witherspoon, Jennifer Garner, Judy Greer, Rita Wilson, and Gary Rice, and author Laura Dave. These are the women behind season 2 of the Apple TV series, The Last Thing He Told Me. We're talking about turning a book into a hit show and what it really takes to bring a story to life.
The most important metric for me is, do I want to share this book with somebody? That's what creates community, and that's the main thesis of our book club and why we started it, was just to connect people together.
Listen to the Bookmarked by Reese's Book Club podcast on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Hey everybody, Robert Evans here, and I wanted to let you know this is a compilation episode. So every episode of the week that just happened is here in one convenient and with somewhat less ads package for you to listen to in a long stretch if you want. If you've been listening to the episodes every day this week, there's going to be nothing new here for you, but you can make your own decisions.
Welcome to Assassination Week. Pew pew, bang bang, timed explosive device, JFK, etc.
Hello, welcome to Assassination Week. I hope you liked that intro from our good friend who we commissioned to do that intro from. So big props to them for giving us like 10 seconds of their time to record that intro. Wow, it's been so long since we've been planning to do this.
Yep, but here we are talking about killing people.
It's great because when we first thought of Assassination Week, we're like, how are we going to fill 5 episodes? There, and then there's like so many more assassinations happening.
There were 2 the next day.
We've decided to stop imagining things into the ether. And so maybe Assassination Month is coming. Who knows?
Hey, look, here's the thing. If people keep getting assassinated, we will do more assassination episodes.
That is the way it works.
Yep, that is sadly part of our job. So we've already done one, I guess. We did Shinzo Abe a little bit, but we're coming back to him.
We're gonna do Shinzo Abe too
later because we have a lot more context information about the assassination now. But that is later this week. So we have 5 episodes all about assassinations, most of which have happened or tried to happen this year. Most of these are going to be pretty topical.
Yeah, mine is not because
and the first
the person
one
I am.
So,
well, I mean, look, we gotta start with a historical assassination. We can't we can't completely have it be just randomly jumping back and forth between times. There has to be some kind of logic.
Yeah, yes. Well, the assassination is the logic. But yeah, today we're talking about ETA, a Basque nationalist leftist group. And more specifically, I guess, their Operación Ogro, the killing of Luis Carrero Blanco in Spain in 1973. It's like obviously not very, very current. It's often pointed to as like a very influential assassination, right? One that made a difference and made a change. Often it's called the only thing that ETA ever did to advance the cause of Spanish democracy, which I think like this is not and I'm sorry if you think that they're like based leftist terrorists. This is not a generally as an organization, we don't like people who murder journalists. That's one of our stances. And so there's going to be a little bit of context around this that we need to give first. So maybe if we kick off with who they are, and then we can talk about that assassination in particular. How familiar are folks, do we think, with ETA? What do people know about them in the US?
Not at all.
Yeah, people. Okay, I think I think they're famous for this assassination and for having literally the worst outfits I've ever seen in my entire life.
That's
like
bold.
The combination of like the face mask and the beret is like one of the most unfortunate things I've ever seen. It is hideous. It is you got just wear the mask. It's cooler. It's bad shit. It's awful. Truly dog shit.
Okay, Chris come in with the fashion police early on. I say wear what you want. I think you all look great. And really alienating our ski mask and beret audience right at the start. So if you've managed to stick around through that hate speech, we're going to talk about ETA. They do like to wear a ski mask. It's part of an aesthetic, isn't it? Though, like there's an aesthetic of like I guess 1980s terrorism that is like woodland pattern kind of DPM camouflage, a cheap black ski mask, a balaclava, and a beret. Like. Sometimes you can pick two of those things, but there's definitely like a vibe from that time period.
I wonder why none of these groups worked. It must have nothing to do with the fashion.
To be fair, the Zapatistas, big ski mask. Maybe it's the bobble. Maybe the bobble is what sets them apart.
No, it's the fact that you don't wear the beret on the ski mask. The Zapatistas look cool because they just wear the masks.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I think we're united in our belief that the Zapatistas look cool. And in many ways are cool, in fact. But we're not talking about them today. We're talking about ETA. So it's an acronym, right? It's an acronym in Euskera or Basque. I don't speak Basque. It's a very hard language for me to learn, at least. I'm not going to say it's a hard language to learn because I think that depends on who you are. But it is one that I have historically struggled with understanding. It does have a generous smattering of X's. So, if you're seeing it out there, good luck to you. I will try and pronounce things as respectfully as I can. I spent a lot of time in the Basque Country bike racing. I really, really love Basque people. They're very nice. I enjoy their food and their cider and their countryside. But today we're talking about this group ETA. It stands for Euskadi Ta Askatasuna, which means like Basque homeland and liberty. Which they were going to call it Ata, but in certain Basque dialects that means duck. So they moved away from that.
That would have been so much funnier.
Yeah, it would, right? You've been ducked. But they didn't do that. They, right from the get-go, they were about like this dual process, right? Of politics and political violence. Their slogan means keep up on both sides. And their logo is like a snake wrapped around an axe. The snake is politics and the axe is, I guess, political violence, terrorism, whatever you want to call it. And over their years of action, they killed 829 people. So they're a pretty serious terrorist group, right? Like I don't know how many people the IRA killed, but I'm thinking of groups in there. I don't think it would be that many.
I think they killed like over 1,000.
Okay.
Well, I mean, I'd say like the entire Troubles killed like 3,500. So it's like a not insignificant fraction of that.
Yeah. I mean, the British government did a decent amount of that. And
definitely.
Loyalists too.
Yeah, but like it's a non-insignificant fraction of the total number of people who died in the Troubles. So
yes.
they're not like nothing.
No, but like it's only ETA up there. And look, this is much of a similar thing as we're going to see, right? Where the Spanish state killed a lot of people too, and sort of armed groups acting in sort of coalition with the Spanish state is the safest way to say that. But certainly with the complicity of the Spanish state, played a large part in this dirty war that ETA conducted with the Spanish state, right? To understand them, you have to understand a little bit about Basque nationalism. Early Basque nationalism, we can like find the guy who really constructs the idea of a Basque nation, right? Sabino Arana is the guy. He takes what is like a language. It's a very old language, right? It predates Latin. And places where that language is spoken and takes it from like, these are the areas where this language is spoken to like, this is our nation. And all nations are created, right? Like nations don't come from the primordial soup. Like we don't evolve into one nation or another.
They're not fabrication. Yeah.
Yeah. They're constructed by like entrepreneurs of identity, bourgeois elites to some kind of false consciousness, one might say, to maybe distract people from other things. But
that's right, Zapatistas. Watch it.
That's we're coming for you with a woke mob. We're going to cancel you. Nations begin to exist when religion loses a claim on universal truth, right? This is like Benedict Anderson's speedrun. We don't need to go into the history of nationalism particularly. It's important for people to know where the Basque Land is. So the Basque Land is in the northwest of Spain and the southwest of France, right? It's these provinces where historically they're mountainous provinces. People there were often shepherds. You'll often find Basque people in the United States like growing wine or doing sheep herding. And that's their sort of historical image of themselves. And they speak this Basque language, right? So ETA come onto the scene as a Basque nationalist leftist group. Like they sort of have some elements of Marxism, but they're obviously like nationalist. They don't center Catholicism, which is what previous Basque nationalisms have done, right? Previous Basque nationalisms have been elite constructs that centered language, poetry, and Catholic identity. ETA don't do that. They have
that's where they're slightly better.
Yeah, right. They're better than like the Carlists, who are like, things went wrong when Spain moved away from this line of royal succession, and we need to go back to that. And like extreme religious totalitarianism and a monarchy. Like they're better than that. I feel pretty comfortable saying that. And they've done some cool stuff. Like they used to kidnap bosses who refused to negotiate with striking workers. Which, like, I don't know, watch out, rail company owners. But they definitely have like a leftist lean, right? They have this sort of pan-third worldist idea, or this pan sort of colonized people idea. They begin assassinating people when they take revenge for this guy who's called Xabi Etxebarrieta. You can look up that name if you want to see some X's in a name. But they kill the local chief of police, right? What happened is Etxebarrieta and this other guy were killed by a policeman. The police stop them at a roadblock. They run away. The police shoot them. In response, they kidnap the local chief of police, who has probably been torturing people, right? Like you have to understand that all this is happening in the context of the Spanish state, which is extremely violent and repressive. And they kill this guy, right?
Wait, this is still under Franco, right?
Yes, no. So they begin under Franco, right? So and their support probably peaks under Franco, right? Like and what we're going to see is actually they are somewhat integral to not bringing down the Franco regime. And in a sense, Spain never does bring down the Franco regime, right? And I want to get into that a little bit. But in destabilizing the Franco regime. And there was more support for this kind of political violence when the state is so obviously like undemocratic, unjust, and incredibly violent towards people, right? So when they're killing members of the Guardia Civil, these are people who are torturing prisoners, right? ETA prisoners pretty often, when they're captured, turn up tortured in court, like very obviously that they have been victims of beatings and physical violence, right? And a lot of things you'll see. They also kidnapped this guy. I forget his name. He's one of the founders of Vox, and they kept him in a cellar for months and months and months and months. They look, I don't like Vox, but I also don't like locking people in cellars. So two things can be bad. Vox is a right-wing populist Spanish party, if people aren't familiar. They also did a lot of extortion. They also did a lot of extorting local businesses, right? They called it the revolutionary tax. So they got into some sort of more classic kind of organized crime stuff there. But the assassination we want to talk about today is Operación Ogro. So the way they do this is they rent this flat, right? That's an apartment for American listeners. And they rent this flat and claim to be sculpting students, right? Like we're art students, we're into sculpture. That's why we're covered in dust every day, and we wear these overalls. And for 5 months, they spend every day digging a tunnel underneath the road by their flat, right? And in that tunnel, they pack 80 kilograms of explosive. And what they're doing there is they're waiting for this guy, Luis Carrero Blanco, to come in his car, which he travels in every day, right? And they're going to explode that explosive, and they're going to kill him. The reason they want to kill him is because they say that he is the best example of pure fascism, right? He's a former admiral. He's Spain's sort of prime minister. He's Franco's chosen successor, right? So he's going to take over from Franco. And so by killing him, they're able to destabilize the whole Franco regime. Franco cries in public when he finds out Carrero Blanco is dead. So spoiler alert, Carrero Blanco is extremely dead. The way they did this is they dressed up as electricians, which is there's a lot of dressing up in this, which is kind of fun. And they painted a little line on a wall to be like, okay, when the car gets to here, we explode it. So the car gets to there, they explode it. They launch this car over a church, and it lands on the second floor terrace on the other side. Sometimes this is called like the Basque Space Program, or Luis Carrero Blanco is referred to as Spain's first astronaut.
That's really funny.
You can find a picture of it. It is hysterical. The car, it just goes. It is so funny. It's
fun. Periodically in Spain, someone will be prosecuted for making this joke, this Spain's first astronaut joke. I saw it happen to someone pretty recently, and she had really made it a thing of making jokes. Actually, I think it's his grandchildren have noted that it's a problematic restriction of free speech that the people keep getting prosecuted for this. And a court recently found that they weren't mocking his family or his memory, but they were just pointing the objectively funny way in which he died. Which, great for the court to agree that it was objectively funny, that a terrible fucking person died by being blown literally sky high. And it's his driver and his bodyguard were also killed. Shouldn't be a bodyguard for a piece of shit. But the ETA guys had disguised themselves as electricians. After the bomb went off, they ran around shouting, "Oh no, we've hit a gas pipe! There's been a gas explosion! Everybody clear out!"
Yeah, there sure was.
So pretty entertaining stuff. Acting is their side passion, I guess. And the reason they did it, they did a presser not long afterwards, wearing their outfits, which some of you may find offensive, and they cited his irreplaceable place in the hierarchy, right? And him being this, they called him a pure Francoist. And oddly, ETA were not at this point, they were less unpopular than they became later because they weren't doing quite as much extortion, and they hadn't been engaging in quite as many murders of journalists, right? And you used to see this, I'll get to that later, actually. They got grudging praise from almost everyone for doing this, right? And because it really does destabilize and kind of kick their legs out from under the Franco regime. And it makes Franco cry, which I think is a laudable goal. It's good to make Franco cry more. So it kind of atomizes the Francoist state, right? Between people who are of this bunker tendency, who want to go hardcore and crack down, and those who are we don't have the ability to crack down, we'll lose all popular support if we do that. And it really sort of vaporizes the consensus for what to do after Franco dies, which he does a few years later. I want to point out that you'll read these articles on popular news websites or hot take websites where they're oh, this car bomb launched Spain into democracy. Don't do that. I think, first of all, the major error with that is the idea that Spain, quote unquote, transitioned to democracy. When you have a pacted transition where the people who did the war crimes in the previous regime are specifically not prosecuted and exempt from prosecution, that's not what democracy looks like. I think the most accurate way of describing where Spain is a post-dictadura, a post-dictatorship. And Spain is still there now. We see that with these prosecutions for mocking him, right? With the fact that there are people in Spain who are still in prison for mocking the crown. Yeah, like that's not what democracies do.
Good thing that could never happen in Britain.
Yeah, look, you won't find me, you won't find me defending that either. But we don't make a big industry of talking about Britain's transition to democracy, or maybe don't talk about transitions at all, given the powerful TERF discourse in Britain. But yeah, I think it's problematic that folks talk about this like, yeah, Spain is fixed. Like Spain has some dark shit that it needs to process. Like it was not until the middle of the last decade that we started exhuming the graves from the Civil War, and that's still highly contentious, right? You still have a political party that doesn't want to do that. Spain is still processing the fact that the Catholic Church took babies away from people who it considered to be leftists and gave them to people who it considered to be more appropriate to raise them. It's called Niños Robados if you want to look it up. But yeah, Spain not transitioning to democracy, and I want to make like that very clear. Some of the other shit that ETA does is really, this is where they start to lose any claim to being like a liberation movement, right? Like they bombed an hipercur, that's like bombing a target for American folks in Barcelona, and they killed 21 people. Now, I will say this is exemplary bad policing. They called the cops and were like, hey, we've put a bomb underneath the supermarket. You ought to clear it out. And the cops were like, I can't tell if that's a real threat or not. And as a result, didn't do anything. And as a result, the bomb went off underneath the supermarket and 21 people died, right? They also alerted a newspaper in Catalonia beforehand. Reporters Without Borders still, for a long time, classified Spain as a place that was hostile to journalists because of the attacks on journalists by ETA, right? Also, the state isn't hostile to journalism, but I want to point out that they killed journalists, they killed university professors who disagreed with them, they killed local councillors, and it was some of these very unpopular murders which really sort of stripped support from them. And one thing that the Spanish state did, or a couple of things the Spanish state did that really were extremely repressive against ETA, was they would move Basque prisoners out of the Basque homeland and sort of hold them thousands of miles away from their families, like in the Canary Islands and shit. Like you're probably closer to Africa than you are to your home country when they do that, right? And you would often see, I don't know if maybe you guys have seen this, it's a white flag. It's got an outline of the Basque land. It's got an arrow and it says Euskal Presoak, Euskal Herria. Have you seen that at like protests? No, if you'd been at the protests I was at, but like, you know, in like the early 2000s in Europe, you would see that flag a lot. It just means Basque prisoners to the Basque homeland. Like a lot of people got behind that who might not have got behind other things that ETA did, right? But it does seem deeply inhumane to move these people so far away from their families. It's sort of an extra punishment. The Spanish state also had this thing called GAL. GAL is Grupo Antiterroristas de Liberación. So I guess like anti-terrorist liberation group. And these were death squads, right? These were death squads aided and abetted by the police. ETA enjoyed like a safe space in France, I guess, or like a freedom from prosecution. Certainly under Franco, France was like, you know what? Franco really sucks, so you guys go ahead and send it. Do your terrorism, wear your balaclavas. I'm sure the French also objected to their beret style, but
this is a safe space for your terrorism.
Yeah, well, this
there it is.
Like a whole.
That's basically what they said.
Yeah.
This is like a whole thing with Mitterrand in France in the 70s. Like France kind of became this weird like they basically had this. They had this open policy where like there was a bunch of well, there are a bunch of people in Italy who got like falsely accused of like being the Red Brigades. What's that guy's name? The guy Negri, Antonio Negri, who's like a kind of famous theorist. His theory kind of sucks by the end, but like they arrest him for like being a terrorist, and then he gets himself elected to parliament so he can get parliamentary immunity, and then flees the country to France.
Yeah, France.
The 70s was a weird time.
Wasn't Carlos the Jackal also in Paris for a while? Yeah.
Yeah.
You love it, France. Open door policy to terrorists. What
like,
a country.
This is the only cool thing France has done since 1968. Like,
yeah, you're not wrong. They invented parkour. When was that?
Oh, that was like in the
Resident
90s.
X. Okay, there you go.
Okay, so the second cool thing.
Got to hand that to them.
Yeah, let's hand that to the entire country of France.
Yeah, maybe not actually, given their treatment of migrant diasporas in recent years. And sometimes their firefighters will go out and beat the shit into the police.
That is true. That is very funny.
I do think we all have to give that to them. I wanted to maybe end with this quote from Subcomandante Marcos. So we've talked a little bit about the Zapatistas.
Yes.
So this is from a piece called "I Shit Upon." Is it "I Shit Upon the Revolutionary Vanguards of the Earth"?
Yeah.
It's something.
I mean, all the titles are like having problems translating Todo el Mundo, which is like, yeah.
I couldn't find it written in the original Spanish. Maybe that's just because I was Googling wrong. And I didn't put a lot of time in it. But I found so many of the Zapatista texts are preserved better in these weird English translations. And I don't know if they're written in English. It's supposed to be possible they're written in English the first time.
I don't think this one. I think this particular one's a translation.
Okay.
But yeah.
Yeah, I've tried to find it in Spanish actually, but so I'm just going to go with the translation. I think it's probably from Libcom or a similar website with like aging red and black aesthetic vibes. But I love those websites. So it's a bit long, but I hope you'll enjoy it. We don't see why. We should have, like, the ETA were kind of like reaching out in solidarity, and the Zapatistas had previously been like, nah, dude, we are not the same. You are not just like an aesthetic society. We are not the same people. We don't see why we would ask you what we should do or how we should do it. What are you going to teach us? To kill journalists who speak badly about the struggle? To justify the death of children for the reason of the cause? We don't need or want your support or solidarity. We already have the support and solidarity of many people in Mexico and the world. Our struggle has a code of honor, inherited from our guerrilla ancestors, and it contains, among other things, respect of civilian lives, even though they may occupy government positions that oppress us. We don't use crime to get resources for ourselves. We don't rob, not even a snack store. We don't respond to words with fire, even though many hurt us or lie to us. One could think that to renounce these traditionally revolutionary methods is renouncing the advancements of our struggle. But in the faint light of our history, it seems that we have advanced more than those who resort to such arguments. I deeply enjoy this critique. You can look it up. ETA was big on killing people who were tangentially related to the regime in any way, which I don't agree with. We should also add that they more or less definitively stopped doing stuff in 2018. They had a press conference, and in their press conference, actually, Arnaldo Otegi, who was a former member, said that they wanted to express their sorrow for the pain and suffering other people have endured. He goes on like, we feel their pain, and that sincere feeling leads us to affirm that it should never have happened. Like, sure, buddy, you want to say sorry because you did terrorism, but I do think that like we're talking about assassinations, going to be talking about assassinations all week. There are ways to do leftist political struggle that are not killing random civilians and their friends and family members and bombing supermarkets, and those are the better ways. But making Franco cry is good. Sending Franco's successor into near-Earth orbit is pretty funny. So we enjoyed that one, at least, if not all of everything.
I think it is worth pointing out, like, we've made this pretty obvious by that line, but ETA does not get a free Basque homeland. The Zapatistas have actually taken and still control territory, a thing that none of these like weird guerrilla groups ever pulled off. So, you know.
Yeah. They don't even get majority support, really, at any point.
Yeah.
Like, occasionally there'll be people who are like, yeah, you know what, like, I agree with some of what they say, but their tactics are deeply flawed, you know, these keeping people, like, torturing people, that kind of thing. And the context of the dirty war with the state is important, but yeah, they don't succeed, right? And I don't think you do succeed by extorting the people you're claiming to liberate. That generally doesn't work well. So up the Zapatistas, I guess.
Yeah, that seems like a good place to end.
Yep, cool.
Yeah, okay. So this has been Naked Happened here. Join us tomorrow for more assassinations, and also the day after that, the day after that, and the day after that.
Yep. Can't wait.
This is Ryder Strong with a podcast called The Red Weather.
In 1995, my neighbor, Anna Trainer, disappeared from a commune.
It was nature and trees and praying and drugs.
So no, I am not your guru.
And back then, I lied to everybody.
They have had this case for 30 years.
I'm going back to my hometown to uncover the truth.
You can now binge all episodes of The Red Weather on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Hey everyone, it's Emily Simpson and Shane Simpson from the Legally Brunette podcast.
Each week, we're bringing you true crime through a legal lens.
Whether you want all the facts on the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie or you still need to wrap your head around the Diddy verdict, we're breaking it all down step by step.
And we're not just lawyers, we're also husband and wife. It makes for some pretty entertaining episodes.
Listen to Legally Brunette on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Ever feel like you're being chased by the marriage police? Welcome to Boys and Girls, the podcast where dating isn't dating. Arranged marriage is basically a reality show, except the contestants are strangers and your entire family is judging. You're sipping coffee with one maybe, grabbing dinner with another, and praying your karmic Ken or Barbie appears before your shelf life runs out. Trust me, I've been through this ancient and unshakable tradition. I jumped in hoping to find love the right way, and instead I found chaos, cringe, and comedy. And now I'm looking for healing. Boys and Girls dives into every twist and turn of the arranged marriage carousel. The meet awkward, the near misses, the heartbreak, and let's not forget all the jokes. Listen to Boys and Girls on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
You know Roald Dahl, the writer who thought up Willy Wonka, Matilda, and the BFG. But did you know he was also a spy?
Was this before he wrote his stories? It must have been.
Our new podcast series, The Secret World of Roald Dahl, is a wild journey through the hidden chapters of his extraordinary, controversial life.
His job was literally to seduce the wives of powerful Americans.
What?
And he was really good at it.
You probably won't believe it either.
Okay, I don't think that's true.
I'm telling you, the guy was a spy.
Did you know Dahl got cozy with the Roosevelts, played poker with Harry Truman, and had a long affair with a congresswoman? And then he took his talents to Hollywood, where he worked alongside Walt Disney and Alfred Hitchcock before writing a hit James Bond film. How did this secret agent wind up as the most successful children's author ever? And what darkness from his covert past seeped into the stories we read as kids? The true story is stranger than anything he ever wrote. Listen to The Secret World of Roald Dahl on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Hello, I'm the ghost of the Queen, and this is Assassination Week. And yes, I actually was assassinated. It was the IRA.
Hi, welcome to Assassination Week, where we talk about all of the normal things. That's what we do. Mm-hmm. Talk about all the stuff that's totally normal and chill. We were just debating why we keep having to talk about Nazi furries, differences between cat boys and cat girls as they relate to Nazism. And we're not going to get less stupid for today's assassination. So let's talk about Argentina. One of the ones that happened pretty shortly after we planned on doing Assassination Week. We're like, oh well, there's another one to add to the list. So yeah, Cristina Fernandez de Kirchner has been kind of one of the most prominent politicians in Argentina for almost 2 decades now. She was elected president after her husband served as a term and then declined to run for a second. But she was elected in 2007. After an 8-year run as president, she's now the country's vice president. She was expected to make a bid to return to the top job next year, but that's kind of up in the air. She's kind of leftish. She's kind of the populist, like leftist kind of favorite.
Do you want to talk a bit about Peronism and like the weird shit that's going on here?
Please talk about Peronism. Maybe sing. Maybe do it in the music of Andrew Lloyd Webber.
Oh God, no. Okay, so there once was a man named Perón, and he had been like, there's a whole thing. He gets like cooed. He flees the country, and while he's not in this is a dictatorship, and like while he's not in Argentina, there's like this whole like one of like a sort of very classical populist movement, to the point where like a lot of the theorizing about what populism is theorizing about Peronism. And what you get is like two completely different like political factions, like casting all of their sort of aspirations onto the like onto the figure of like Perón, who's like in exile. And so you can like, you know, you can say that like Perón has whatever, so Perón supports us, like Perón will be the guy who'll save us. And like, so you get this really weird thing where there are Peronists who are like fascists. There are Peronists who are like communists. So you get the split that happens. You have these left Peronists, you have these right Peronists, and like when Perón comes back to the country, like the right Peronists start murdering the left wing Peronists. It's this whole fucking thing, and it's this, you know, and this sort of like political formation like persists through another military dictatorship. It persists like through sort of like the quote unquote transition to democracy, and like basically everyone who has ran Argentina since like the quote unquote transition to democracy has been a Peronist of some kind. Kirchner is from the left wing, sort of the sort of like revitalized left like Peronism that comes around like the early 2000s. I mean, she's around actually in the 90s too, but in the early 2000s, it sort of like, well, okay, so in 2001, there's this massive series of protests and uprisings in Argentina that like I would argue is like the last of like the great 20th century sort of like working class revolutions. Like people start occupying their factories. Like they go through like 5 prime ministers in like a month. Like they come very, very, very close to bringing down the government. And the thing that sort of stabilizes the situation is this is a series of protests against like IMF austerity, right? Which have been just like destroying the country. And the way this sort of gets stabilized is that you get a new, you know, you get a new sort of like revitalized like left Peronist populist thing. And the sort of populist deal is twofold. It's like, one, okay, we're going to have a bunch of patronage networks, and we're going to run like everything from like sort of like job networks kind of like down, like right down to like, hey, we will like give aid to your neighborhood as long as you sort of support us. And the second thing is like they make the ruling class like cuts this sort of, and this is particularly like Fernanda de Kirchner, like her husband like cuts this deal basically, Nestor Kirchner cuts this deal with the working class, which is like, okay, if you guys stop trying to overthrow us, like we will give you a bunch of welfare programs, we will like do a bunch of stuff to like promote the sort of like national economy. And so it's this whole it's like a left populism, but it's built on sort of like this very explicit, like we are going to buy off the working class so we can maintain capitalism, but the capitalism is going to be slightly nicer.
Yeah, and there's a few reactions to that, including the reaction from the right, which is very much like all of these welfare programs are making our people lazy and unwilling to do actual work, which is kind of where some of our attempted assassin gets some of his ideology from. But yeah, so a week before this assassination attempt, Argentinian prosecutors announced that they're seeking a 12-year prison sentence for Mrs. Kirchner over accusations that she directed public roadway funds to a company owned by a friend of hers. Accusations which she denies. I have no bid in this fight. But
yeah, I mean, the thing I would note is like almost everyone. So she particularly Nestor Kirchner, but she was also sort of like considered like the soft wing of the pink tide, sort of like social democratic governments to come to power in this period. And like all of these people are kind of corrupt, but they're not like more corrupt than any other like politician in this region. But like every single one of these people eventually, like there's a whole movement to like put them in prison because of corruption or something. And it's like, I mean, I don't know, like they're politicians. Like,
yeah,
what do you expect? Like,
the political rhetoric against Mrs. Kirchner had intensified in recent weeks amid the final stages of her corruption trial. And while she is probably the country's most prominent politician, even serving as vice president seen as more powerful than the president, she's also a very polarizing figure. You know, her face is plastered on posters all around like working class neighborhoods. But Argentina's right has kind of made her out to be their boogeyman. She's kind of like their top target. Last week, one opposition lawmaker commenting on her case said that Argentina should bring back the death penalty. just for her case, just because she's like a woman we don't like, so we should kill her.
It sounds like our friends at the Kyle Rittenhouse Cultural Center.
Oh,
Yes.
Yeah. Would you call her a Femi Bolshi?
Oh, Jesus.
Because they certainly would.
Oh, God.
So, but since the proposition of the 12-year sentence, hundreds of her supporters have been rallying or were rallying outside of her house every night. Calling her a victim of political persecution and doing these big rallies in support. And it was at such a rally on Thursday, September 1st, just after 9 p.m., when Mrs. Kirchner was returning home from presiding over a session at the Senate, accompanied by her security detail. She was greeting the massive supporters, lighting the streets, and signing copies of her book. And then a man rushed up through the crowd, aimed a semi-automatic pistol inches away from her face, and pulled the trigger. But the gun didn't go off. There's lots of footage of this incident. There was a lot of cameras rolling. It's kind of wild. Because he sticks the gun like right up in her face.
It's just like it really like this is like something out of like fucking like late 1800s Russia.
It's extreme. It's very slapstick. It's very comical.
It's the Franz Ferdinand level of assassination.
Well, speaking of. President Fernandez said in an address to the nation later that, quote, Christina is still alive because, for reasons that have not been confirmed technically, the weapon, which was loaded with 5 bullets, did not fire.
I can confirm technically that it is a piece of shit. You can find
it was a 32 caliber,
380, wasn't it? It's a burst of thunder, isn't it?
Oh, maybe I'm wrong.
What was it? Yeah, isn't it like a specific gun that's like absolutely like the worst gun?
Yeah. So they're kind of funny. They're they're bursters. So I think they're made in Argentina. They might be made in Brazil. I think they're made in Argentina. They make knockoffs of other gun designs, more or less. So it's in the style of a PPK, which has good precedent for killing bad people. Right, that's what Hitler brained himself with. But this is a knockoff. This is a cheap one. It's one of the guns that's approved for safe sale in California because you can pull the trigger and it doesn't get bang. At least a version of this. I don't think the one that this person used was actually a Thunder. But yeah, it's like a I don't know. It's like when you go and buy a cheap knockoff of anything. Like sometimes it doesn't work. This one appears to be missing one of the grip screws actually, but yeah, it's very rusty. This person didn't think this through very well, I guess, is what I'm saying.
We'll talk a bit more about what was going on with the gun in a sec.
You know what won't fail to murder the vice president of the country?
These products and services. Support the podcast. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Bleach, for supporting our podcast today.
It's what everyone says about ButterHelp. It will not help.
Yep.
You kill the vice president. Okay.
Here's a plug for ammonium nitrate.
Federal police arrested Fernando Andres Sabag Montiel, a 35-year-old Brazilian man who's been living in Argentina for about 20 years. They recovered the gun at the scene, and then the next day they searched his apartment. He had a studio apartment in like a working class suburb of Benaros. Oh boy, I'm gonna send this one to the chat and let someone else handle this one.
In the chat? Let me
let's let the people who
I'm too Canadian.
Spanish and sort of speak Spanish.
It's a boot.
There we go. I sent it to the regular Cool Zone chat.
Okay.
Buenos Aires.
No, that wasn't the one. Garrison.
I can't read that. I have no idea.
Garrison. Then it's the capital of Argentina.
I don't know. I can't read it.
Oh.
I never say words. I only read them.
Yeah, this is the thing. Yeah, Buenos Aires. Buenos Aires.
I'm learning how to read ancient Greek for magic, and that's way easier than this.
I would quibble back. Are you going to be like a Hebrew understander on Twitter? You're going to be like, it means legal immigrants when he says that, guys.
No, only for ancient Greek.
Okay.
Only for Greeks to use in spells.
I forget that people who aren't Americans don't pick up the sort of like smattering of terrible Spanish that like everyone in the U.S. can kind of do.
Yeah, no, I grew up. as a kid in Saskatchewan. No one's going to speak Spanish there.
Yeah, just food nouns. You can just do like a pollo and.
But anyway, so they searched his studio apartment in apparently this big town, Buenos Aires.
This is Argentina erasure. Some people are going to be legitimately very angry,
but it's fine. But anyway, they searched his apartment. They found just 100 bullets. Just around,
just like in various places, or like
they said they just found 100 bullets, like around his studio apartment. So,
yeah, wow.
that's the statement.
It's amazing. If people haven't watched the video, I'd highly recommend looking it up.
So, Mr. Montel is registered with tax authorities as an Uber driver, and he's not. Pretty soon, people figured out that he's not just a regular dude. There was a few signs, most notably the Sonnenrad tattoo on his elbow.
That'll do it.
So he is.
That's the Azov Battalion logo, right? What is the
James? Shut the fuck up! Shut the fuck up, James!
Oh God!
He's come
so yes, a wave of people who think they're smart but are actually not saw the Sonnenrad and thought that he was doing this in solidarity with the Azov Battalion.
Isn't he like in a Duganist group?
I'll get to it. Not quite. But no, it's not Azov Battalion because the Sonnenrad does not come from the Azov Battalion, as most people listening to this show should probably know already. His social media accounts got taken down pretty quick, but we do have a few archives, which I'll be working off of to kind of paint the rest of this weird guy's picture. He is steeped in a whole bunch of eclectic and esoteric things. He has various esoteric symbols tattooed across his body. He follows a lot of extremely interesting Facebook pages. He is interested in stuff from far right groups, conspiracy theories, mysticism, Freemasonry, quote unquote alchemy, and the Kabbalah, or again, quote unquote the Kabbalah. Across many kind of political, esoteric, fascist interests. It's not very surprising.
By the way, I just found out there's a whole page by that Caliber Oscura guy, and you were right and I was wrong. It's a 32 ACP pistol.
Thank you. It was a 32 ACP. Huh. Wow.
Yeah.
Maybe if you spent less time making fun of my Spanish, we could learn something. That's Buenos.
I think, and in terms of levels of understanding,
For a while, he used the symbol of the Tyrodal Order of the Knights, which was a fringe kind of far-right Argentine fascist mystical group from the 1980s. But he had that as his Facebook profile for a while. So he's like into the worst type of nerd things. Like instead of just playing D&D and getting it out of your system, he's like, I'm going to become a fascist and a wizard.
If he'd had a cultural center where he could play D&D with other people, just saying.
Talk about Dragon Ball, play D&D.
Paint.
Do some really bad figure painting.
Do art, and we wouldn't have had a problem here. But instead, here we are.
So, but like looking at his Facebook page, right? You see stuff about like paganism, Vikings, death metal, not very good philosophers. These types of things don't immediately indicate a connection to the far right. Like you can't just take them by themselves, but when taken all together with the much more overt political things, you can get a fuller picture of who this person actually is. It's like when I'm walking down the street and I see someone inside like a half skull mask, that doesn't immediately mean they're Nazi. But if I see the half skull mask and then some questionable tattoos, I'm like, okay, then you're able to put that together. So same thing with here, right? When someone's really into like pagan Viking shit, it may make me side eye, but until I see some things that really confirm my suspicions, I'm not gonna, talk about this person as if they are a Nazi. This guy is a Nazi. He is a big old Nazi. A few extremism researchers in Argentina have kind of made statements about this guy and what their take on it is as someone, who actually is in Argentina, right? I'm an extremism researcher who lives in Oregon, which is so I don't really have the same cultural understanding.
But you have a good grasp on the language, which is helpful.
I have a good grasp on the language when they're using magic words. When they're using words from real languages, not really. But no, they've talked about him like saying this dude is, quote, not explicitly connected to an organization, but they relate to the fascist ideology, and compared him to kind of being the types of, quote unquote, like lone wolf attackers that are not connected to any like specific political movement, but almost just like an emanation of political ideas online, like in Christchurch, Buffalo, and El Paso. Those were the places that he was kind of compared to as like people who aren't like inside a group, but are willing to go out and take politics into the real world. But yeah, they compared his profile to like, other types of like, you know, like lone, quote unquote, lone wolf, which is not a good term, but like what that means is like as someone who's like isolated, doing a mass shooting or a terrorist attack or an attempted a political assassination. Montel was described as his friends as like eccentric and insecure and dishonest, but not necessarily openly violent or kind of openly invested in like political parties, which isn't surprising when you get someone into this like nerdy type of politics. That's like, yeah, they're doing politics as it relates to being like a weird nerd online, but you know, who knows? His friends may just not seen this side of him at all. Like who can say? Because he did have a lot of fascist tattoos. So like come on, guys. He had like we said, Son and Rad on his left elbow. On the back of his hands, he had the Iron Cross, and he had Thor's hammer.
Oh, wow.
But like the traditional one, not like Marvel movie shit. In a funny maybe coincidence, this guy, the assassin, was actually interviewed twice on television in like months before the attack, just as an average citizen on the street giving his opinion on politics. One of them, he was interviewed with his girlfriend, and they were complaining about Argentina's social welfare programs, saying that they make people lazy. And then in another more recent one, in another more recent interview, he was asked if he supported Argentina's new finance minister, which he responded, "Hell no." And then he offered his opinion as well, saying that he doesn't support Cristina either. Cristina is later the person he tries to kill.
Which, you know, I will say this: this is not out of line for like whenever a journalist tries to pick a random person on the street, like it's like they're always interviewing Hitler, Mussolini. Like it's just every single time. Like this guy is a representative sample of those people.
But so he gives up his unsolicited opinion on Cristina, who he then tries to murder on TV just a month before he tries to kill her. So now back at the scene, authorities said that the gun, they had 5 bullets inside. The serial number was partially removed. It was an older gun. It was not brand new.
Yeah.
They said that the gun model had not been manufactured in 40 years. But it's the.
It looks like it was made until 1978, so like it's pretty old.
Yeah, the gun could have failed to fire because it was broken, or because it was just improperly loaded. Because
have you come across the Argentine media articles which were explaining how to properly cock the hammer on one of these? That is some real interesting take stuff. Being like next time, so good stuff as always from our friends in the media.
And reportedly, the gun tried to get fired twice, so pulled the trigger at least 2 times. And when they recovered it, there was no round chambered, so he may have just not like.
Oh my fucking god! This is really like
he could have just not cocked it at all, and that could be why it didn't fire. Like it's unclear.
This whole thing is really like it's the Virgin Kirchner assassin versus the Chad Abe assassin. The Chad Abe assassin went to the time of building his own weapon. He fired it twice. Both shots went off. The fucking Virgin. Yeah. This guy fires it twice. Doesn't build his own weapon. 0 bullets come out. Oh.
Do we know if it's legal for this person to own the gun in Argentina, or have they like acquired it legally and not been able to test it illegally and not being able to test it, because that would have also sort of got some attention to them.
I believe it's illegal.
Okay. Yeah. Well, either way. Yeah. Should have just done the old Abe method with the pipe gun and the battery, I guess.
Well, do you know what isn't illegal? And that's assembling your own. No, it's.
That's very legal where I live.
These products and services which support this podcast. Very not illegal. All right, we are back. I'm going to share with you guys the document I'm looking at, so you can have fun looking at all of these symbols with me. Scroll to where the first picture is, and then we're gonna go over all of the weird shit that we have.
This is so we're looking at his Facebook likes here.
Yes, these are the Facebook pages that he follows.
I'm just going to zoom in on this bad boy.
Dear God.
Yeah. So, yeah, this is a bit of a red flag.
There's some yikes here. So, yeah, 35 years old. He has a Chilean father and an Argentine mother. He's lived in Argentina for at least 20 years. His profiles on Facebook and Instagram were taken down pretty soon. On his Instagram, he described himself as a devout Christian. Sure, buddy.
Well, the Knights Templar pop up on here, so.
Yes. He didn't comment on Brazilian politics very much. It was mostly interested in Argentina, and a lot of the esoteric Nazi stuff. A lot of the weird, there's actually an interesting history of esoteric Nazi stuff, specifically inside Argentina as well. Obviously, a lot of Nazis fled to Argentina. It's kind of been a fostered ground for them. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff here. One of the pages he follows is named Camarada Miguel SS, which is just a picture of Nazi soldiers in armbands.
I don't know. You're underselling this. That looks like Hitler nutting to me.
There's a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Biblioteca Esoterica. But yeah, there's stuff on Gnosticism. There's stuff on Freemasonry. All of it's kind of it's a little bit of a basic bitch here. This is it's for this type of guy, it's not surprising. Obviously, he's not a normal dude, but for someone who's into esoteric fascist stuff, you're like, okay, yeah, you hit all the things. I'm not surprised looking at your page. So yeah, like we said, he's tattooed with a black sun, Iron Cross, and a Mjolnir. Now, obviously, the Iron Cross and the Mjolnir are not symbols created by Nazis. They were previously existing symbols. Iron Cross existed in the Prussian army. The Mjolnir is an old Nordic symbol, but both of these were co-opted by the Nazis pretty strongly, and now have very strong associations. If you scroll down to the next page, I have all of his tattoos here.
Oh yeah.
So you can see a bit of the Sonnenrad on his elbow. You can see some of the hammer on his. I believe his right hand has the hammer, and his left hand has the Iron Cross.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
what's this diamond thing on his inner wrist?
I'm gonna get to that.
Okay.
So the Black Sonnenrad, we've talked about this on the show a lot. It exists before Azov. A lot of liberals now think it's an Azov battalion symbol. No, I mean a lot of Nazi mass shooters have had Sonnenrad patches and stuff for years and years and years. It's been very popular. It's also very popular among esoteric fascists.
Yeah, also very popular among you see a lot of Wagner Group guys with this. You see, there's a lot of Russian soldiers who have this shit on.
Yeah.
So
yes, but no, it makes sense as in its popularity as an esoteric fascist symbol. This guy's into all of the esoteric fascist shit, so he's going to have a black sun. So now James mentioned another tattoo which kind of looks like a diamond, which is the Yggdrasil Immersal. Which is how I'm going to pronounce it because nobody cares. It means a great tall pillar. It's known as the tree bridge that would connect the earth to the celestial greater reality. The Irminsul plays an important role in old Germanic paganism. It was there probably was a physical sacrificial site adorned with like big pillars. But like a lot of the old weird German shit, it got Nazified. Heinrich Himmler founded the Society for Research and Teaching of Ancestral Heritage in 1935. Which was this was an organization with the aim of retracing, quote, ancient Aryan artifacts that support the master race theory.
Oh boy!
And he used one of these for the original symbol of this organization, which is all about like tracing back old Germanic like pagan shit to be like, here's evidence that we're the master race, and all of our he's like trying to manufacture anthropology which supports all of the bad science that says we are Aryans and we are better. So it's this like fake it's like the Indiana Jones stuff. Like this is what he's trying to do. But that one of the symbols he used for that was the Irminsul, or the Yggdrasil. Possibly this symbol was also linked to Odin. It's unclear because the actual god of that represents Irminsul is hard to trace. But yeah, probably a sacred object in the form of a pillar that represents kind of the trunk of the Nordic spiritual cosmos that rises up into kind of the heavens. Yes, it's something the Nazis pilfered from like Germanic paganism, turned it into Nazi shit, and became this idea around the spiritual center of like German nationalism. It's like it's this spiritual thing that represents how pure we are as German nationalists. Anyway, obviously the shooter is not German, which is kind of which is fun. So I wonder why he has that, huh? I wonder what he's trying to say there.
He just likes German people, just interested in their culture.
But yes, he has one of these on his, I believe it's his left hand, on his forearm. It's a pretty intricate symbol.
Yeah, that's like his best tattoo as well. Some of the others are pretty ropey.
Yeah, the Mjolnir tattoo is not very good. The Iron Cross is pretty faded, but the Great Pillar one's decent. Yeah. In terms of like quality, again, we're just reviewing the tattoos of an esoteric fascist.
Yeah. Best fascist tattoo, top 5.
Look, Assassination Week is also Fashion Week.
Yeah, it's true. Would you say better or worse than Etta with the berets and the ski mask at this point?
Ooh. I like the ski masks.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's slightly better.
Oh, it's a bold take.
So
Leave it.
The thing that James was asking about previously, there's this really weird symbol that obviously looks kind of swastika-ish.
Yeah.
It's very like it's made up of like two different runes combined into one symbol. This is the kind of logo of an esoteric neo-Nazi sect in Argentina, founded by a very famous Argentinian neo-Nazi named Nimrod de Rosario, which I do like that his name is Nimrod.
It's like, oh god.
So yes, I highlighted this thing. Do you want to try to pronounce that one? That one's
Orden de Caballeros Tirodal de Argentina. So like
so. That is the name of the sect. It's the symbol's a combination of the Odal rune and the Tyr rune, hence the name Tyrodal or Tirodal. It's a combination of these things into this new thing. So this is like very popular for this type of like kind of esoteric Nazi writer inside Argentina. He had the assassin or attempted assassin had a few of these things saved.
Was actually an organization like the Order of Knights, the Tyrodal Knights, or however we say that?
I mean, not really.
Is this a Facebook chivalric order?
It's hard to say. I mean, like, no, they're not out there doing tons of shit.
Okay. Are they LARPing?
Yes, they are.
Good,
I mean,
good.
as soon as when any one of these groups called themselves like an Order of the Knights, they're always LARPing. Like they're always doing kind of a LARP. Like whenever someone's into like the Templars and shit, you're like, okay.
Yeah, who's that Texas politician recently who joined like the he's like sworn to protect Christians in the Holy Land. It was very funny.
Yeah, like
Joined the
come on.
Templars. Yeah. All right, so he's a big he's got a lot of Christian stuff as well. Like I'm looking at the and then what's with
I
the
mean that's kind of with all of like the Gnosticism stuff, which draws on a lot of like Christian imagery or Catholic imagery, and he did describe himself as a Christian on his Instagram account, which still it's like, okay, bud, you're into some weirder shit than that, but there is some of a Christian basis for this style of like esotericism.
I feel you. Okay. Whoa, I've just found his I'm sorry, I've just scrolled down. Didn't expect to see that.
Didn't expect to see what?
Is it like a cam girl? Olecam official?
Oh, yes. He was retweeting a cam girl on his Twitter. Yes.
Okay, yeah. Okay, good.
So I have some other stuff here on the Argentinian Patriot Front. But
please.
Different Patriot Front than the American one.
God,
but that was just talking. I just wanted to talk briefly a bit about like Argentinian like Nazism or fascism, much like Brazilian stuff with Bolsonaro and the kind of the fascist groups that have been active in both countries for a while. Both of them have historical roots that go back to the 20th century. They're neo-Nazi and neo-fascist groups that have been active in Argentina for decades. We talked a little bit about this in the Kyle Rittenhouse Cultural Center as well, as it relates to like anti-communist like stuff. One of the kind of oldest groups of Argentinian fascism formed into a new group called Patriot Front, or Frente Patriota. How'd you say that?
Patriota.
I was close. Close.
You were really there for like 80% of it. I really thought you had it.
But yeah, so this new group, Patriot Front, was formed in 2017. But it's based off of a very famous far right leader called Alejandro Biandino. That's how I'm gonna do it. His name is highlighted here.
Biandini, is that it?
He might just be Italian. Like that's not a Spanish sounding name.
I mean, but he's been active in Argentina's far right sphere for a long time. Like he's kind of like the main guy who's trying to do stuff. He's 66 years old. He was born in Argentina.
Argentina has a massive Italian population. This has been true for sort of a long time. Like, yeah, and this cuts both ways politically. Like a lot of those guys used to be anarchists. Like there was a huge anarchist movement in Argentina for a long time. Also a lot of weird fascists.
So it is interesting that like this neo-Nazi assassin, again, wasn't part of any of these groups, wasn't really aligned with this Patriot Front group, wasn't really aligned with any other kind of actual like far right political activism. He was just into he was into like dressing up as a wizard and talking about weird Gnosticism and fascism online, and then he tried to kill the vice president.
Did he live near her? Was this like an impulse thing, or is this like a long planned?
I think he did live nearby. I mean, I believe she was in the capital city, so yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's a big place.
You can walk. You can get around if you're dedicated.
There's 3 million people.
Yeah, around the city of which city is it again? I can't remember.
I can't remember either. I who's to say? Who's to say?
Yeah.
So yes, this is the story of the not assassination that was attempted a few weeks ago in Argentina, and the guy behind it who should have just learned to play D&D. Like honestly.
Yeah. Well, he did not. Is probably gonna spend a long time in jail now.
Probably. I mean, he did not kill the vice president, but he did put a gun in her face and tried to pull the trigger 2 times in front of tons of cameras.
Unfortunately, that gets you to attempted assassination.
Yeah. I think it's I think he did some crimes.
Even if he didn't know how to chamber his round properly.
Yeah. Once again, the master race prevails.
So yeah, and any other notes on this guy or the stuff in Argentina? Any comments from the gallery?
No, fascinating stuff.
He is so much less cool and worse of an assassin than the Abe guy. This guy sucks.
Yeah, no, compared to he's the probably the least based guy we're going to be talking about.
Yeah, I think by far.
Right, like at least ETA was successful in sending someone into near-Earth orbit.
Oh God!
Also,
you can buy Nimrod's books on Amazon.com.
Yeah,
that's a problem.
All right, we'll be expensing some of those. You
shouldn't be able to do that. Come on, he has a Twitter account.
All right, let's just read some of these tweets. Are they in English or Spanish?
Spanish.
Drop the links.
But I can do Google Translate. Talking about Zionist terrorism. The myth of the Holocaust. I mean, it's
the myth of the Holocaust.
He's a Nazi.
Yeah.
He's a what are you gonna expect?
Physical reaction to that last one.
But yes, so this was the guy that had the symbol that had the weird combination rune symbol that the assassin liked the books of and used the symbology of on his Facebook. I just sent the writers of a Twitter account to the Cool Zone chat. I do like once I go to Nimrod's Twitter page, on the who to follow section, it recommends Alexander Dugin.
Good.
Yeah, so this was the guy I had vaguely read somewhere that this guy liked Dugin or something. But he also isn't he dead?
I believe he's dead.
So who's running this Twitter account?
Well, he hasn't posted for a while. These are like 2016 posts.
Some lackey is using the Twitter.
In like the 90s.
He died in 1997.
Okay, so this is like all right.
This is like some lackey is posting on his account to plug his books.
Wow, maybe it's a mistake. He's retweeting the Phalange. It's funny. Lots of the people who retweet, you go to their account and it's like, this account is temporarily unavailable because it violates Twitter's media policy.
Yeah, I wonder why. I wonder what's going on there.
Bunch of fucking Nazis.
Yeah,
I do like Nimrod's website is down, which is good. That is nice. His official website is offline, so that's good. It sucks that his books are on Amazon, but you know,
it's good that he's dead.
What can you do? It is it is good that he's dead.
Mm-hmm.
So he is dead. The vice president is not, and the assassin's probably gonna be in jail for a long time. And that's the episode.
Hey everyone, it's Emily Simpson and Shane Simpson from the Legally Brunette podcast.
Each week, we're bringing you true crime through a legal lens.
Whether you want all the facts on the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie, or you still need to wrap your head around the Diddy verdict, we're breaking it all down step by step.
And we're not just lawyers, we're also husband and wife. It makes for some pretty entertaining episodes.
Listen to Legally Brunette on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
This is Ryder Strong with a podcast called The Red Weather.
In 1995, my neighbor, Anna Trainer, disappeared from a commune.
It was nature and trees and praying and drugs.
So no, I am not your guru.
And back then, I lied to everybody.
They have had this case for 30 years.
I'm going back to my hometown to uncover the truth.
You can now binge all episodes of The Red Weather on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Ever feel like you're being chased by the marriage police? Welcome to Boys and Girls, the podcast where dating isn't dating. Arranged marriage is basically a reality show, except the contestants are strangers and your entire family is judging. You're sipping coffee with one maybe, grabbing dinner with another, and praying your karmic Ken or Barbie appears before your shelf life runs out. Trust me, I've been through this ancient and unshakable tradition. I jumped in hoping to find love the right way, and instead I found chaos, cringe, and comedy. And now I'm looking for healing. Boys and Girls dives into every twist and turn of the arranged marriage carousel. The meet awkward, the near misses, the heartbreak, and let's not forget all the jokes. Listen to Boys and Girls on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
You know Roald Dahl, the writer who thought up Willy Wonka, Matilda, and the BFG. But did you know he was also a spy?
Was this before he wrote his stories? It must have been.
Our new podcast series, The Secret World of Roald Dahl, is a wild journey through the hidden chapters of his extraordinary, controversial life.
His job was literally to seduce the wives of powerful Americans.
What?
And he was really good at it.
You probably won't believe it either.
Okay, I don't think that's true.
I'm telling you, the guy was a spy.
Did you know Dahl got cozy with the Roosevelts, played poker with Harry Truman, and had a long affair with a congresswoman? And then he took his talents to Hollywood, where he worked alongside Walt Disney and Alfred Hitchcock before writing a hit James Bond film. How did this secret agent wind up as the most successful children's author ever? And what darkness from his covert past seeped into the stories we read as kids? The true story is stranger than anything he ever wrote. Listen to The Secret World of Roald Dahl on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
This is Assassination Week. Oh God, my left armpit, it hurts so much. My lung doesn't feel so good.
Ronald Wilson Reagan. 666. 6 letters. And anyway, whatever. I'm Robert Evans. This is It Could Happen Here, a podcast about assassinating world leaders. That's why it's called It Could Happen Here. And today we're talking about a time where it did, when John Hinckley Jr. shot Ronald Wilson Reagan. With me today, James Stout, Garrison Davis, and of course, the ghost of Ronald Reagan, who is a regular contributor to our podcast series,
along with the ghost of the Queen.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, now the ghost of the Queen has joined the team. Very excited. So obviously, John Hinckley shot Reagan in 1981. We're going to get into a lot of detail about Mr. Hinckley's life. This is something that is joked about a lot on the internet, including by me. But you know, it's interesting because there's two strains of people who will like come out and tell you it's not cool to joke about John Hinckley Jr. shooting Ronald Reagan. And one of them is right, which are the people who are like, well, actually, like, it's a pretty messed up story. And he, like, it's kind of messed up to laugh about this family's tragedy because it was a family's tragedy. And the other people are like, no, it's fucked up because he had the hots for Jodie Foster. And what was actually going on there was a lot more complicated than that. So we're going to talk about all of the things that happened in this shooting, which was messed up and which I probably shouldn't joke about on Twitter, because it's actually really bleak. And in order to understand both why it's sad on a personal level and why it's a tragedy for the entire country, I'm just going to start by talking about John Warnock Hinckley Jr., who was born on May 29th, 1955 in Ardmore, Oklahoma, which is about 2.5 hours from where I grew up in Oklahoma. Unlike me, John's dad, who was John Warnock Hinckley Sr., was the chairman and president of Vanderbilt Energy. So they had lots of money, a lot of walking around money. And
that Vanderbilt money.
Yeah. And like most people who have good money, they don't stay in Oklahoma.
They have any owls? I know the Vanderbilt's big owl.
Must have. I'm certain they did. Add owls to this story as you picture John's childhood.
Yeah.
So they're rich as hell, and they get the fuck out of Oklahoma and move to Dallas, Texas when John was 4, which is so far weirdly like my life in a lot of ways, although I was a bit older. Maybe that's why I didn't get the madness. So that's not why. Normally, getting kids away from Oklahoma really, really fixes stuff. But John was taken. Yeah, John was taken to the only place more toxic than small town Oklahoma, a wealthy neighborhood in the Dallas-Fort Worth metroplex. He attended Highland Park High School, the school where I would later lose several speech and debate competitions and win 1 or 2 as well. It's where if you're in the DFW area, the rich kids who don't have good drugs go to Highland Park. The rich kids with good drugs go to Jesuit because they're private school kids. But Highland Park is like the rich kids who are going to like try to sell you shitty ditch weed. Anyway, this is important Dallas-Fort Worth context, and I assume it was the same when he was a child. As far as I've ever found any information, he was a pretty normal young man for that time and place. There's no one really seems to notice anything particularly different about him. He does reasonably well in school. Later in life, he's going to express some racist thoughts in his diary and in other writings prior to the shooting. It doesn't really seem to have ever been a motivating factor in his life, and to the extent that he had regressive beliefs, they seem to have been due to the fact that he grew up in a sheltered, rich, all-white environment, and that's not great for you.
Shocked.
Yeah, shocked.
In Texas, no less.
In Texas, no less.
Yeah.
One write-up in the New Republic describes his childhood this way. Perhaps it is fear of what lies outside that makes the interior of the family so rigid and subdued, like life in a well-run bunker. The world of the Hinckleys was the rootless middle-class Sunbelt culture that nurtures pro-family values, Christian fundamentalism, and occasional mass murderers. Families move frequently, but without compromising their parochialism. Everywhere, people are white, Christian, Republican. Joanne explains John's egregious prejudices by saying he had never been around people of other races. Somewhere outside, there are malign elements, minority groups, rock musicians, big government, and the cynical, gosmos cosmopolites who dominate the media. Mothers in this culture do not lavish attention on their children, but on their furniture. Now, that is a coastal liberal elite like fucking paragraph trying to describe like people who grow up in this situation. As someone else who grew up in a similar area, I think most of that is pretty silly. And more to the point, it doesn't get to why John does this. We're getting to why John does this. It's not because he grew up sheltered and a little racist. That is not why he shoots the president. There is, however, a bit of that does strike me as accurate, as again, a kid who grew up near here a couple of decades later, which is the description of his childhood as life in a well-run bunker, which is kind of how it feels to live in these wealthy enclaves in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. I grew up in Plano, which is, a couple of steps down the economic rung from Highland Park, but not all that far. And that's not a bad description of it. It just doesn't generally lead to kids shooting the president. More often, it leads to them shooting up heroin and then dying of heroin overdoses, which was the big problem in Plano when I was a kid. That said, it's also worth noting that his parents are not, as far as I can find, like 50s stereotypes. Like his dad's not this super masculine guy who's like mentally abusive to his kid. His mom's not like checked out. Neither of them are against the idea that their son might have a mental illness and need help for it. In fact, it seems like they're kind of more open to the idea of reaching out for professional mental health for their kid than a lot of parents would have been at the same time period. In 1976, John drops out of Texas Tech to go to Hollywood and try to make it as a musician. Again, his parents are very supportive of him. One cannot say they didn't try to help their son live his dreams. When he gave up on music and he wanted to be a writer, they paid for him to take a class at Yale. We'll get to that in a second. It doesn't go well because anyway. But John's not being honest with his ambitions, nor is he open with his parents about his mental health. We now know that John developed schizophrenia as a young man and had a series of psychotic breaks. When he would get money to do stuff like this Yale writing class, he would take it and buy guns. He did go to Yale, but it was mainly to stalk Jodie Foster, who was going to Yale at the same time. Now, this is all occurring in the late 1970s and early 1980s, which is the fucking dark ages for treatment of this particular condition and a lot of other conditions. There are not a lot of good options. Among other things, I just said he's not open with his parents about the fact that his mental health is declining. I don't know how he really could have been. I don't think it's likely. It's certainly not the case. This didn't happen to John, but I don't think it's very likely for a young man in this time and place to be well equipped by his education or society to express what is going on in his head to his parents. And it's, to be fair to his parents, they're not equipped with a lot of an ability to really help him out here. And they're doing the things you would want them to do. Again, they repeatedly are bringing in professionals to try to help. None of it is particularly useful, but it's not for lack of trying. Like a lot of people who struggle with similar mental health issues, John seeks refuge in fiction. Unfortunately for everybody, the movie that he finds himself most drawn to is Taxi Driver, and I think most people are aware of this part of it.
Oh boy!
Oh boy!
It's a bad choice.
That's a really bad choice. Yes, if he had found maybe Adventure Time or something, it would have been a lot healthier.
Yeah.
But instead, Taxi Driver. If you haven't seen it, there's the main character is this kid Travis Bickle, played by a very young Robert De Niro. It is weird to watch him because we're all so used to old man Bob De Niro, who is thinking about assassinating like a presidential candidate, and then kind of through movie magic rescues a child prostitute played by Jodie Foster from A Pimp. And Hinckley thinks the movie is kind of talking to him and providing him with information about how he can fix his own life. He starts dressing like Travis Bickle. He starts wearing like an army jacket and boots and drinking the way that Bickle drank. He starts buying guns. He gets really into guns for, in letters that he's writing home to his parents, he starts talking about this relationship he has with a woman named Lynn, who isn't real, but who sounds a lot like one of the women that Travis Bickle has an interest with in the movie. This is kind of the start of his obsession with Jodie Foster. And there are people who will like say that he's a pedophile because she's 13 in the movie. That doesn't seem to be the case. When he is actually stalking her and most obsessed with her, she is 18, and he is stalking her in real life and calling her on the phone and stuff, which is like bad and messed up. But he's not into her because she's young in this movie. He's into her because he's kind of losing his mind and obsessing with her, right? So while this is all going on, kind of in the late stages of this, his parents bring in a psychiatrist. Again, they're willing to fund and support him in seeking professional help. The doctor they wound up getting for him, I don't know if he's a bad doctor for the time, but he's wrong as hell. He kind of looks at the fact that John has been normal, quote unquote, in high school and like at the start of his college career. And so he looks at this kid who's like, seems to be developmentally normal up to a certain point and then goes off the rails and says, well, it's because you were sheltered and coddled by your rich parents and you're just lazy. Right.
Oh, no.
That's what this guy says. So a big part of his like advice to mom and dad is you got to cut him off. You can't keep giving him stuff, can't keep giving him money, can't keep taking care of him. So while this is happening and this guy is like making them make plans for John to be less reliant on his parents, John Hinckley is getting way more into guns. He does a lot of target shooting. He also plays a lot of Russian roulette with himself alone in his basement, which is not great. In Christmas of 1979, he takes a very famous photo of himself holding a handgun to his temple. Now, John is increasingly harassing Jodie Foster in this period. Now, what he's doing is he is not just obsessing with her and it's one-sided. He is reaching her on the phone. They talk a couple of times.
I didn't know that.
Yes, they do.
Oh, wow.
She is always very terse in their calls, always, you can tell, is kind of frightened, but is very controlled and careful. I would describe the way she handles this as very responsible, and like, you can tell she's talked with like people, I think like her manager or something, and been like, I have been advised, like, I don't want you calling. She's tries to be very clear here. And I think handles this as well as a person can possibly handle, being stalked in this way. I believe he's able to get her number because like it's the 80s and people just have numbers in the phone book.
Yeah.
Again, she's kind of taking a break from Hollywood right now and is going to Yale.
Right.
His obsession with Foster veers between these kind of like fantasies of like harming her or harming a guy that she's with, or harming himself, and eventually harming the president of the United States. Now, he is not one to shoot the president for political reasons. He has no kind of particular anger at the president that he wants to work out with a gun. He wants, number one, to impress her, and he wants everyone to know his name and know his name associated with Jodie Foster, right? Because again, he's very ill. He starts following Jimmy Carter around. He goes to like 3 different Jimmy Carter rallies in DC and in Ohio. There's video of him 20 feet away from Carter at one point. He probably has a gun on him. Like he gets really close to Carter. Again, one of the through lines here is that like presidential security wasn't great in 1980.
Yeah.
Like it's not very good. John thinks about shooting Carter. He's probably there and equipped to do it, but he just can't get himself into the frame of mind to shoot Jimmy Carter, which is understandable.
That's
because it is Jimmy Carter, right? Like he is a hard man to want to shoot to death. So there's a moment where he so he's kind of bouncing around after this period where he he thinks about shooting Carter, but he doesn't. He is in communication with this Nazi ideologue, and they almost have a meeting, but they don't. That's all kind of obscure, kind of unclear. And then on October 6th, 1980, he gets arrested at the Nashville airport with a briefcase full of handguns and a pair of handcuffs. Now,
whomst among us hasn't?
Whomst among us has not been in this situation.
Picked up the gun bag and
oops.
Yeah, it's wrong bag.
He says he's just trying to sell them, and they're like, well, you still can't get on a plane with a bunch of guns, John Hinckley Jr.
This is pre 9/11 too.
This is pre 9/11. So you have to assume he's looking weird. He's sweaty and in an army jacket and talking to him, and they're like, well, we've literally never searched a single person before in the entire life of this airport, but let's check this guy.
What's this massively heavy briefcase you're carrying?
There's a dude just walking in with a stinger, and they're like, no, let that guy on, but we got to check John Hinckley. So he flies to Dallas, where he buys more handguns and some explosive 22 caliber bullets. We will talk about that in a little bit, but they are explosive bullets for his handgun.
22 caliber bullets.
Yes, wow. They are bullets that are meant to explode on impact.
Is he reading Soldier of Fortune magazine at this point? Because nobody seems
he's into gun culture, so we have to assume. I think his family's kind of casually conservative. He is kind of maybe, as is embodied by the Nazi thing, probably dabbling in some areas. Again, I think that's certainly not good for him. It's also, I don't think politics, I haven't seen any real evidence that politics is a motivating factor in what this guy is doing. He does get explosive bullets. Probably helps that he has explosive bullets in terms of making this less dangerous. These are not good explosive bullets. They are meant to be fired out of a larger weapon than he fires them out of. But they are supposed to, basically the idea is these are 22 caliber rounds. So the idea is that this little explosive charge in them makes them more like a 38. So we're not talking about military grade weaponry or anything here.
Why is he doing, you may not know, of course, but if he's a massive gun dork, why
he's not a massive, gun culture is different than, right? He's buying a bunch of handguns. He's shooting a lot. I don't know that it would be, he's not particularly good or knowledgeable with them, right?
Okay. Yeah, I see.
But gun culture is it's harder to get information about guns, right? Maybe today he would have gotten a lot more into it.
You're just flipping through magazines and stuff. You can't look something up online.
Yeah. Is 22 good for assassination? Just
exactly.
Yeah.
And this is also this is what he can afford, right? He gets kind of he's lost his better guns, right? They are property of the state, so he winds up with this 22, and he gets these explosive bullets to try to make it give more of a kick. Obviously, the thing that's going on in the background here is that Jimmy Carter and Ronald Reagan are having a presidential election, which Reagan wins. We'll talk a little bit about kind of that a bit later, but that happens. Reagan is the president-elect. He flies home. Hinckley flies home. Things continue to deteriorate in his own life. He's continuing to travel around. John Lennon is assassinated, and he kind of goes a little bit nuts over that because he loves John Lennon. Also might kind of think that he is John Lennon. So that does not help his mental state. He visits the shrine to him in New York at one point, and kind of when he gets back in March of 1981, his dad cuts him off. Basically says, here's your car, here's $200. We can't take care of you anymore, John. And I think this is his dad basically trying to take that psychiatrist's advice of we need to have tough love. He has to be forced to kind of get his shit together. But John Hinckley is not really capable of getting his shit together because he is profoundly ill. So he uses that money to pay for hotel rooms in Denver where he sits alone watching television with a gun. Not great treatment for schizophrenia.
Yeah.
Reagan wins the election in what was a sweep electorally, but fairly tight in terms of popular vote. He's got 50.5% of the popular vote, something like that. It's pretty close. And soon after taking office, he gets hammered on a bunch of stuff, right? The economy's not great. He's back. He's going for a bunch of far right policies to unwind the New Deal, a lot of which are unpopular and some of which he'd said he wasn't going to do in debates with Carter. He doesn't have the kind of traditional grace period most presidents get where they're broadly popular, right? Yeah. It's not looking great for kind of the midterms is what I'm getting at. So Reagan's staff is struggling to right the ship, trying to figure out like how do we fix all this. Reagan or Hinckley, while this is going on, gets convinced that like shooting the president is a pretty good idea. He doesn't have a lot of other options. He's kind of like running out of money, and he's able to get a little bit more from his mom, but he's increasingly unhinged and alone and desperate. On March 29th, he checks into a hotel in D.C. where he finds in a local paper the president's schedule. He loads his .22 caliber revolver, he writes a letter to Jodie Foster, and he travels to the Hilton, where the president is set to deliver a speech to union workers. Here is how John's letter to her ends. Quote, I will admit to you that the reason I'm going ahead with this attempt now is because I just cannot wait any longer to impress you. I've got to do something now to make you understand, in no uncertain terms, that I am doing all of this for your sake. By sacrificing my freedom and possibly my life, I hope to change your mind about me. This letter is being written only an hour before I leave for the Hilton Hotel. Jodie, I'm asking you to please look into your heart and at least give me the chance, with this historical deed, to gain your respect and love. I love you forever, John Hinckley. It's not great.
Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah.
Not a good letter to get.
Yeah, not a great letter to get. Not a great letter to send.
What was this actually like delivered in the mail? Was this
I believe so. Yeah, I think this.
Wow.
She winds up getting this. I mean, like. She has to come to court and stuff when he goes on trial. It's like something he kind of demands, and I think she does to just make it easier for things to move along. Obviously, she does nothing wrong at any point in this process. She's just living her life, and this guy is out of his head and has easy access to guns, which is a problem. At 2:27 p.m. on March 30th, 1981, John Hinckley Jr. opens fire at the president's entourage from just a few feet away. Reagan had been speaking to a bunch of union guys at this thing at the Hilton anyway, and they're kind of like walking out towards the limo when this happens. John's first shot hits James Brady, the press secretary and former PR man for Phyllis Schlafly, in his head. He then wounds a police officer and a Secret Service agent. He actually does not hit, probably does not. I think there's still a little bit of debate because it's like ballistics are kind of fucky, but he probably doesn't directly hit Reagan. Instead, a round fragments and bounces off the armored limousine, penetrating the president's lung. None of the explosive bullets explode because they're not the right bullets for the gun. The barrel is too short. So it might even do less damage than it would have done, although maybe they fragment because they're these weird explosive bullets, and that's why Reagan gets hurt. Anyway, hard to say. Nobody really understands ballistics all that well today. There's a lot of debate over how all this stuff works. Reagan had been in office for 69 days, and no real plan existed for what to do if the president gets shot and is alive, but is unable to do the job of the president. George H.W. Bush is in the air a bunch of this time, and like people can't reach him. They're saying, you need to come back to Washington now. So kind of the people running the country for a few hours is Al Haig, the Secretary of State, and like a room full of guys in the cabinet who are all disagreeing about everything, and none of whom are constitutionally supposed to be running the country.
Right.
It's a real big problem. Like the press ask at one point, because Haig goes out there to be like, hey, the president's in surgery, and they're like, well, who's in charge? Like with the nukes and stuff, who's running the country? And he's like, we got a whole room full of guys. Don't worry, it's all fine. And they're like, is that what the law says? Because I don't think that's how it's supposed to go. It's not great. It's actually a real problem, and they make a bunch of changes after this to make sure that like we never don't know who the president is if this kind of thing happens at least. But on a political level, this is fucking gangbusters for the Reagan administration. And I'm going to quote from a write-up in El Pai here. The assassination attempt silenced criticism of his administration at a critical point early in his term, explains H.W. Brands, author of the biography Reagan, The Life, in an email. The good humor he exhibited during his recovery, he spent only 12 days in the hospital, convinced many skeptics. Some of his followers believed that God had forgiven him to allow him to finish his work, and it is possible that Reagan thought so too. On the 30th anniversary of the assassination attempt, journalist Del Winton Wilbur published Rawhide Down, a thorough investigation full of revelations of what happened that day. The book is written in the style of true crime, and its title is a reference to the Secret Service codename given to Reagan. Rawhide, Joe Biden's codename is Celtic, and Donald Trump's was Mogul. It reaches two important conclusions. Firstly, it argues that Reagan became the first president since Eisenhower to serve 2 terms because of the way he and his team handled the assassination attempt. And secondly, the White House did not reveal the seriousness of Reagan's injuries. He walks into the hospital and then stops breathing and collapses. Like he walks in specifically because he wants to be seen walking in.
Yeah.
And it's like, they don't know that he's been shot at first. It's not like bleeding a bunch outside. He's bleeding internally. So this is like legitimately the best case scenario. It would have been hard to figure out what had happened to him, kind of, because you can't immediately tell that he's bleeding. A lot of people have been shot. And so everyone just kind of assumes he's having a heart attack, which is why they take him to the hospital. He thinks I think he believes that his Secret Service agent broke his ribs getting him into the limo. But if they'd taken him to the White House first, he would have fucking died. He loses half of his blood in the surgery. Like that's pretty, which is like bad. Wow. If you lose half your blood, that's not like a great injury.
It's his lung collapsing is what's happening. Like,
yeah, they've got him on oxygen and stuff. He's like barely able to joke with the doctors, which he does, which is one of the things that like goes viral from this and makes him so popular because he's yucking it up, old Ronnie. There's a number of massive long-term fucking consequences to this. One of them is that this is why Nancy brings in Joan Quigley, the astrologer. Like, this is when you could refer back to the Behind the Bastards two-parter on the Reagan astrologer, but this is why the Reagan astrologer becomes, like, they stop having him do events when the astrologer says it's a bad day for it and shit, because, like, Nancy, this kind of breaks her. And it also kind of breaks Ronald. He's not the same man after getting shot. Which, to be fair, he is 70 when this happens. So getting shot in the lung at 70, most people aren't going to come back all the way. This is also probably doesn't help the Alzheimer's, may accelerate the timetable there. But on a political level, this goes fucking great for the Republicans, and it allows them to do a lot of really fucked up shit. And I'm going to quote from CNN here. Today, Reagan is the only modern president who receives high marks from Republicans, Democrats, and independents alike. A look at the polls can quantify the roots of this enduring goodwill. Despite an electoral landslide over Jimmy Carter with a 44-state win in 1980, Reagan won a narrow popular margin of 50.7%. Moreover, Gallup's valuable presidential poll tracker shows that Reagan's approval ratings were significantly split along partisan lines after his 1981 inauguration, with 74% Republican support and 53% from independents, but 38% from Democrats. When Reagan came back to the Capitol on April 28th to push for his Economic Recovery Act, he was greeted by a hero's welcome and a 3-minute standing ovation. He leveraged his political capital to help pass his agenda. Before the end of the summer, the Reagan tax cuts had passed the House of Representatives, led by Democratic Speaker Tip O'Neill, and the Republican-controlled Senate, reducing the top tax rates from a confiscatory 70% and unleashing an entrepreneurial era. That's how CNN categorizes it. That guy.
That's what we got to call it.
Yeah. And in 1984, Reagan wins 49 states and 59% of the popular vote. It is very clear kind of how this happens and what this allows Reagan to do.
It's fascinating, isn't it? Because you have in Britain, like less than a year later, we have Margaret Thatcher, right? Like who is similarly not doing very well until she gets to go to war for 2 tiny little cold islands in the Atlantic that no one knew about before. Then they proceed to just ravage the post World War II social democracy consensus.
Just fuck it up.
And fucking here we are now.
Here we are.
2022, and people are going to die of cold in Britain this winter.
I will say, in terms of, just to be fair, one of the things people will say is a positive from this is that this is one of the things that helps push the arms treaty deals with the Soviet Union, because Reagan is like, God saved me for a reason, and maybe it's to make nuclear war less likely. That's a bigger topic than today. It's a thing that he will claim, and generally speaking, the fact that the Soviet Union and Reagan started talking about nukes during this period is not a bad thing. Always good to be talking about nukes. But yeah, what I will say, if we're looking at kind of the only clearly good thing that came out of this shooting, it's the fact that the justice system actually worked in this one instance pretty much exactly how you would want it to. Hinckley was clearly not mentally competent to understand his actions, what he had done, or to stand trial, and he was declared not guilty by reason of insanity. His father, tearful, took blame for the shooting for cutting his son off from resources. The psychiatrist who had botched his diagnosis admitted his mistakes on the stand and expressed regret. Hinckley was sent to a psychiatric facility where he received decades of treatment, and the treatment seems to have really helped him. On December 17, 2003, a federal judge ruled that Hinckley was entitled to unsupervised visits with his parents. This is 5 years before his dad died, so they get time together again. In 2007, he has a request for unsupervised visits as long as 1 month. This is denied, not because of any problems, but because of issues the hospital had not taken to prepare for the transition. In July of 2016, Judge Paul Friedman concluded that Hinckley did not pose a threat to himself or others and ordered him released. The conditions initially limited him to his residence where he lived with his mother in parts of Southern California. He was obviously forbidden from contact with past or presidents of the United States or any of their family members or graves. He was banned from contact with Jodie Foster or other entertainers. He was prohibited from watching violent movies, television, or online media. In 2018, a restriction confining him to his mother's house ended. He can now live anywhere he wants with doctor's approval. And on September 27th, 2021, John Hinckley Jr., age 66, was approved for unconditional release by District Judge Paul Friedman. Friedman noted that, quote, very few patients at St. Elizabeth's Hospital have been studied more thoroughly than John Hinckley. And again, that's pretty much how it ought to work, right?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, he shoots the president, but clearly because he's sick, and you don't just punish sick people when they don't know what they've done. So he gets treated for decades until he's better, and now he's able to live a life.
Penalty.
Yes, it's really good.
Quite surprising.
It is very surprising, and part of why it's surprising is that one of the other negative lingering effects of John Hinckley attempting to shoot the president is that a lot of changes are made in many states to make it much less likely that people benefit from the same understanding judicial system that John Hinckley Jr. does. Okay, I'm going to quote now from a write-up from famoustrials.com, which has a pretty good bit on just kind of everything that happened here. It's a pretty fair summary, I think. Within a month of the Hinckley verdict, the House and Senate were holding hearings on the insanity defense. A measure proposed by Senator Arlen Specter shifted the burden of proof of insanity to the defense. President Reagan expressed his support for the measure with the comment, if you start thinking about even a lot of your friends, you would have to say, gee, if I had to prove they were sane, I would have a hard job.
maybe that tells us more about you than what you think.
Maybe that says a lot about your administration, who are, by the way, at this point, deep in like Iran-Contra shit, selling cocaine. And anyway, we're talking about all of this on an upcoming episode of Bastards. But like, yeah, they're all monsters. Joining Congress and shifting the burden of proof were a number of states. Within 3 years after the Hinckley verdict, 2/3 of the states placed the burden on the defense to prove insanity, while 8 states adopted a separate verdict of guilty but mentally ill, and 1 state, Utah, abolished the defense altogether.
Good old Utah. Always delivering.
So the system works really well for John Hinckley Jr.
Yeah.
And then nobody else.
Ethically,
so
I think
they change it.
I think the Justice Department of the United States, this is maybe probably in history, you will not find many cases of a guy shooting an active world leader and being treated ethically by the justice system. Like, he's handled very reasonably, I think.
Yeah.
And never again will that happen for anybody, even if they don't shoot the president. So, obviously, I wish John Hinckley Jr. well. I hope his musical career goes fine. I fuck Ronald Reagan. Hate him. And it's probably made the world a lot worse that John Hinckley Jr. tried to shoot Ronald Reagan because it empowered Ronald Reagan. One of the lessons here, if we're talking about assassinations, is that it's a real wild card as trying to assassinate a president or any other politician. And as a general rule, people are kind of programmed to think that somebody's cool if they get shot and don't die. Like, it's one of the cooler things that, like, look, it just objectively, it's, what do you do if you want to show John McClane is hard as hell? You can get, like, hit in the arm or something and just, like, work through it, right?
Yeah.
Like, what do people talk about, like, Teddy Roosevelt when he was shot and how badass it was that he gave a speech, or how cool it is that fucking Andrew Jackson got shot up.
Who they don't say any of these things about is JFK.
That's right.
They don't.
Because
they don't
dying is not cool.
Because dying's not cool.
Not cool at all.
Over the roof of a church.
Yeah. Lame as hell.
Yeah. So don't do
but like,
that.
this is look, if if you want John F. Kennedy to stop being the president and you can successfully kill him, you will get what you want. He's no longer the president. If you were to have a political motivation, and again, Hinckley doesn't. Hinckley is not thinking about the top marginal tax rate when he does this. But if that had been his goal, this is the opposite of that, right? Because it just makes Reagan look cool and makes everybody feel like an asshole for fighting him for a while. So like he gets a bunch of shit through, and also a bunch of laws get worse for mentally ill people. And on the whole, bad assassination.
Bad assassination. 0 out of 10.
Yeah, I have to say, based on the evidence we have here, shooting Ronald Reagan, not a good idea.
They didn't do it. No.
Mm-hmm. They let the whole team down. And we should just plug his album. It's out on Asbestos
We
Records.
should plug his album. Because again, he's not responsible for this.
Yeah, like if he's happy singing songs, I'm happy for him.
Yes.
So,
I wish you the best of luck, John. You can buy his t-shirts. He's got t-shirts that he's trying to move, which I don't know. I don't think it's bad to encourage his music career. Like seriously, like we're all doing it with a little bit of a smile, but what's the harm if John Hinckley Jr. thinks that people like his music? That doesn't hurt anybody.
And look, maybe if people can see that, like if you treat people with mental illnesses like people who are ill, not fucking terrible people, then they can get to a place where they can sing songs on YouTube, and that's nice.
That's good. That's an example, again, of the only time it worked the way it should. But it did work out pretty well in this case.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
Yeah.
Take whatever lessons you want to out of this.
Many possible things can be learned.
lot of different lessons we can take out of this. Don't
learn,
hire
much
Al
discuss.
Haig, but I feel like that's a generally good lesson.
Yeah, there's a Phoenix Punch band called Jodie Foster's Army I've just read as well, who make songs about him, which
Great.
Buy their records too.
Fine, yes. No strong opinions on that either way. Anyone else got anything to say about John Hinckley Jr. or the assassination attempt on Ronnie Rawhide Reagan? Also, we're talking about the IRA a lot this week. Probably not for nothing that Joe Biden's code name is Celtic. And the Queen dies now?
Makes you think.
You're telling me it's a coincidence?
I still suspect Liz Truss personally.
I think that maybe Joe Biden shook hands with Liz Truss and like transferred a nerve poison onto her hand, and then she touched the Queen.
Definitely possible. She wanted to be
Sweet
number
Joe
one. Liz.
sipping a Guinness on the plane back, knowing that he's done his job.
In his balaclava, inexplicably. Air Force One.
Anyway, hopefully nobody who has stuff going on listens to that and takes the wrong message out of it.
Yeah, no. Be kind to one another.
Anyway, we're done.
This is Ryder Strong with a podcast called The Red Weather.
In 1995, my neighbor, Anna Trainer, disappeared from a commune.
It was nature and trees and praying and drugs.
So no, I am not your guru.
And back then, I lied to everybody.
They have had this case for 30 years.
I'm going back to my hometown to uncover the truth.
You can now binge all episodes of The Red Weather on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Hey everyone, it's Emily Simpson and Shane Simpson from the Legally Brunette podcast.
Each week, we're bringing you true crime through a legal lens.
Whether you want all the facts on the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie or you still need to wrap your head around the Diddy verdict, we're breaking it all down step by step.
And we're not just lawyers, we're also husband and wife. It makes for some pretty entertaining episodes.
Listen to Legally Brunette on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Ever feel like you're being chased by the marriage police? Welcome to Boys and Girls, the podcast where dating isn't dating. Arranged marriage is basically a reality show, except the contestants are strangers and your entire family is judging. You're sipping coffee with one maybe, grabbing dinner with another, and praying your karmic Ken or Barbie appears before your shelf life runs out. Trust me, I've been through this ancient and unshakable tradition. I jumped in hoping to find love the right way, and instead I found chaos, cringe, and comedy. And now I'm looking for healing. Boys and Girls dives into every twist and turn of the arranged marriage carousel. The meet awkward, the near misses, the heartbreak, and let's not forget all the jokes. Listen to Boys and Girls on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
You know Roald Dahl, the writer who thought up Willy Wonka, Matilda, and the BFG. But did you know he was also a spy?
Was this before he wrote his stories? It must have been.
Our new podcast series, The Secret World of Roald Dahl, is a wild journey through the hidden chapters of his extraordinary, controversial life.
His job was literally to seduce the wives of powerful Americans.
What?
And he was really good at it.
You probably won't believe it either.
Okay, I don't think that's true.
I'm telling you, the guy was a spy.
Did you know Dahl got cozy with the Roosevelts, played poker with Harry Truman, and had a long affair with a congresswoman? And then he took his talents to Hollywood, where he worked alongside Walt Disney and Alfred Hitchcock before writing a hit James Bond film. How did this secret agent wind up as the most successful children's author ever? And what darkness from his covert past seeped into the stories we read as kids? The true story is stranger than anything he ever wrote. Listen to The Secret World of Roald Dahl on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Prime Minister Abe was a champion of democracy and a firm believer that no economy, society, or country can achieve its full potential if women are left behind. I am shocked and devastated by his assassination, a loss for Japan and our world. JK, this is Assassination Week.
Who's assassinating my ex-former Prime Minister of Japan? It's Assassination Week. It is. I would somewhat vaingloriously argue the capstone of Assassination Week. It is the episode about the assassination that started it all. And by that I mean we are here talking about the assassination of one Shinzo Abe. This is going to be a slightly different episode, both to the rest of the Assassination Week episodes and to the other episode we did on the assassination of Shinzo Abe. Partly because basically the day after, within about 2 days of our original episode about the Abe assassination dropping, there was confirmation that the reason Abe was killed was because of his connection to an organization called the Unification Church, which is, I think, better colloquially known as the Moonies. People might have listened to the very, very long episode I did about it, but yeah, there is an enormous amount going on there, and this is something that fortunately we have experts for, and yeah, so joining us to talk about this assassination and the Moonies and sort of, I don't know, the sort of weirdness and the horror around everything that's been happening around this assassination is anti-fascist researcher Elisa Majoub. Yeah, Elisa is a anti-fascist researcher specializing in cults who's working with Deprogramming Imperialism, which is a collective of ex-Moonies who've been documenting just sort of all of the shit the Moonies have been getting up to and trying to get more awareness of really the just incredible array of awful stuff that they've been doing. Yeah, so Elisa, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, and thank you so much for joining us for this. I don't know why I'm saying us as if there's someone other than me on this episode and you, but you know, old habits die hard. I guess I've inherited the royal we, which is not great. Oh well, so someone will have to assassinate me soon. That's fine.
Sometimes it happens. Hope it doesn't happen to you though. You seem cool. So. that would not be the best assassination target, honestly.
Yeah. So, okay, I guess the place I think we should start is talking about what we've found out about this assassin in the last sort of few months since this happened, which is that when the initial police reports came out, there was a bunch of very, very murky stuff about. Basically, the police were like, this wasn't a political killing, it was about some organization. And I think me and you and every single other person who was like even tangentially aware of Japanese politics saw them say like an organization and was like, oh no, there's like a 1 in 3 chance this is the Moonies.
Yeah, I saw like when they said something about like organization or religious organization, I was like,
yeah, I was like,
Well, I know what that probably is.
Yeah.
It was wild.
Yeah, and it turns out that okay, so the assassin is a man named Tetsuya Yamagami, who was a Navy veteran. Made a series of unbelievably based and incredibly wild firearms with which he assassinated the former Prime Minister of Japan. What we've learned since then is that the reason he did this was that his family and his like life were completely destroyed by his mom falling into this cult, and by her, I mean, she gave this cult something like $700,000.
Yeah, like roughly $720,000 US.
Yeah, like literal, like multiple fortunes. Like she gave them all of her money, and then she sold the company that like she had been running to give them more money. And yeah, what basically, as best we can tell, has happened was that he was looking at a way to like get back at the Moonies. And basically the problem was he didn't want to kill civilians, which I think is admirable, and he couldn't figure out a way to like get at any of the like individual church leaders. And so the thing he decided to do was go after Shinzo Abe, because as we're going to get to in a bit, Shinzo Abe, lots of connections with the Unification Church. A thing that all of the people like writing glowing obituaries about him just like incredibly don't want to mention.
Yeah, it's been left out of a lot of shit.
Yeah, and okay, so I guess to back up a little bit, for people who sort of don't know what this is, or for people who like may have heard of it but need a refresher, can you talk a bit about what the Unification Church actually is, and yeah, we can sort of go from there.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so the Unification Church, or the Moonies, they are a quote-unquote new religious movement, or pretty much a cult, They're very culty. They're a cult. And they were started by Sun Myung Moon, who was originally from what is now North Korea. And so basically this guy, he claims he's the Messiah, has this, originally it started out as like a sex cult, under a practice called, I think, Bikaram, which is basically he was supposed to quote unquote cleanse a woman's like relationship to God by having sex with her. So he assaulted a number of people doing this stuff. And the church over the years has sort of like developed into more of a multinational corporation and political movement. And it has a lot of tools, a lot of ties and connections to various governments around the world, including Japan, and is basically, at the end of the day, a tool of United States imperialism. There's some pretty direct ties to like the Korean CIA.
Yeah,
as well as the US CIA. So yeah, it's like this big umbrella of like groups, different NGOs, different like businesses, a bunch. It's just a whole conglomeration of things, right? But very extremely virulently anti-communist, and involved in some of the greatest hits of the last century, like Iran-Contra, for the fascists.
Greatest
hits for us.
and when we say involved in Iran-Contra, like, okay, there's lots of people who are like sort of involved in Iran-Contra. The Moonies, like, there is a decent, you can make the argument that if the Moonies had not been doing what they were doing in Nicaragua, Iran-Contra wouldn't have been able to happen, because the civil war would have ended. Like, they, like, when I say, like, when we say, like they were involved in Iran-Contra, like, they are, like, on the ground giving people guns and money and keeping, like, literally keeping guerrilla organizations and, like, terrorist groups, like, in the war, who wouldn't have been able to otherwise.
involved.
Yeah, and then also,
Yeah.
and that's the thing. Like they did 2 Iran Contras, right? Because they did the second Iran Contra with when the CIA actually got money, but they were also doing the same thing like before that when in the sort of stopgap period where the CIA wasn't able to fund the Contras. So yeah, these guys are
They were
like
a nice back route for that money and all the other shit.
Yeah, so they're very, very heavily involved. Like, and basically, anywhere there is an anti-communist death squad, like in the world, you can find the Moonies funding it.
Yep.
Although, okay, I will
Pretty
say this weirdly, the only one I haven't directly been able to find is I haven't been able to directly find any evidence that they were specifically they were helping Pinochet. Like, when I say helping Pinochet, okay, they were involved in Operation Condor. And they were like doing shit with that. I haven't found evidence they like directly had any conversations with Pinochet, but he's like the only person you can say that about. And they probably did at some point, like, but like Alfredo Stroessner. Yeah, like they probably did. Like, I mean, again, like they were there with Alfredo Stroessner. They were there with what's that guy's name?
Klaus Barbie, the cocaine coup.
Oh yeah. I can't remember the name of the guy. Yeah, there was a guy in Bolivia who got installed for like a year, and then he got couped. I can't remember his name right now.
I know who you're talking about, but I'm also forgetting his name at the moment.
Yeah, no, it's funny because he's one of these guys where it's like, I had a professor. I took a Syrian history class in college, right? And I think it's I really should. If I was saying this, I really should know the year. But there's a year in like the 50s in Syria where there's like 4 coups in 1 year. And there were like 2 guys who, technically speaking, had control of Syria. He was like, I'm just not even gonna tell you these guys' names because they get overthrown in like 2 months. And like that's this guy. Yeah, but yeah, this is a very sort of very serious and deeply scary like death squad funding machine.
Yeah. And that has continued to today pretty much. So, oof.
Yeah, and okay, I think there's sort of the death squad side of it. The other thing I wanted to ask you about is about like what it's like being in the church and what it's like sort of. I don't know, because I think a big part of what's happening with this story is Tetsuya Yamagami like basically watching his family get sucked in and not being able to do anything about it. And I was wondering if you could talk a bit about, sort of like what it's like being in the church, and then what it's like just sort of watching it destroy people.
Yeah. So I was born and raised in the church. I left when I was around 17. It was not nice. Pretty much everybody I talked to who is also left feels the burden of this like horrific abuse that we had to endure. It was a bleak time for me. There's just so much pressure put on members to follow leadership, to do outrageous amounts of fundraising. They have a bunch of these fundraising teams, right? And they'll go out and they'll sell things and live in a van, occasionally stopping at like different church centers to like sleep for the night or whatever. They don't eat well. They don't get enough sleep. Like you're constantly around other people. Basically, like all of the methods of psychological torture you can do on a person, right? Which was, pretty standard throughout the whole movement. Now, I was lucky enough not to go on any of these fundraising teams because I left before that could happen. But I still, definitely feel like the psychological, fallout from that, and it's something I'll be healing from for the rest of my life. So like there's like no accountability for leadership. They can do whatever they want, but everybody else in the church, has to follow what Moon and the regional or national leadership says, or the 36 plus couples who are like some of Moon's original followers. it's like extremely hierarchical. There's a lot of racism within the group, a huge amount of sexism that is like, you know, directly tied into their belief system, because the fall of man, according to the Moonies, was Eve having sex with Satan and then having sex with Adam and spreading that sin. So just like very inherently misogynistic, extremely homophobic and transphobic movement. Just all around, like, so much sexual repression. Like, you're not supposed to hold hands, kiss, do anything before marriage, right? And then it's only that person. Well, of course, Moon, you know, didn't like, this didn't apply to him at all. He could sleep with anybody's wife, pretty much. So yeah, it was just altogether a very intense environment. Just so much indoctrination going into the heads of the people who are part of it. Yeah, just altogether shitty group.
Yeah.
Yeah, so for me, I went away to school in another state when I was 14. It got me, like, you know, the physical distance as well as like the space and time to actually think and reflect on what was going on. And then I started doing some research online because I was like, well, maybe what people are saying about it is true. Maybe it is a cult. And I came across the tragedy of the Six Marys, which was, you know, Moon assaulting a bunch of women. And that sort of like made me just, you know, it sort of brought it to a head, because I had, like, you know, seen for the longest time how leadership was treated versus how regular members had to live in like poverty. But they got like big mansions and like nice things, nice cars, expensive watches. But everybody else had to like give all their money to the church and, you know, were like terrorized. And then eventually I was like, I think I have to go. I had been through the process of like meeting the mystical or the evil other, which, you know, like people outside of the church are, you know, they're fallen. They're like, you know, basically they have original sin, so they're kind of evil, right? And gotten to know more people, queer people who were just like a hugely demonized group of people within the UC. And here I am today. I'm super queer. But like
Hell
that,
yeah.
like, hell yeah. But like getting to know people and actually seeing, you know, like, oh my God, what they're saying, these people are not evil. They're normal. They're human. They are just different from straight people. I don't know. That to me also made like a huge difference. And then when I was 17, I went to another school and I was like, I want to get laid. I've had enough of this. So I went out and did that. And that felt like, you know, once I finally lost my virginity, it felt like sealing the deal. I'm like, if I have to go to hell now, okay. And it was cool because God didn't like immediately smite me where I was in bed at that point. Like, I lived and I'm here to tell the tale. So yeah, that's how I left.
That rules. I don't have any like, yeah, it's like this is much more gay of a story than I was expecting, which is always a good thing.
Yeah,
it reminds me a lot of like the stories of sort of like of people leaving like the really right wing like evangelical music. Like a lot of it reminds me of Quiverful, but like
yeah,
more intense. I think. Well, it's like I think like the level of, I don't know. I guess the level of separation.
Yeah, it's
I think
a lot
seems
more
a lot
isolated.
Yeah.
Than Quiverful. They seem to be at least sort of like integrated into like other communities and stuff, whereas the Moonies, I don't know, like there's definitely like people have friends outside of it, but like generally like people kind of keep to the Moonies because, you know, they're supposed to be like God's chosen people or whatever, so they and they like look down on everyone else because they're not Moonies. So yeah.
It's also interesting to me that like literally the term is just the evil other, which is just really.
So I don't think that's a literal term, but like that's how I sort of phrase it or whatever. But yeah, or just like fallen people would be, or the fallen world, the outsiders is what they would say. So just this very, you know, like very like stigmatizing language that they use for people. Lots of people are just called evil in the church too. They just call people evil like willy-nilly. It's like, oh, you're satanic. Like, no, that's not it.
Yeah.
That's not that.
I don't know how to do a good transition into this. Yeah, we're going to ads. Yeah, so I wanted to also talk about specifically one of the things that the church does, and one of the things like the sort of one of the specific things that Tetsuya Yamagami seems to have been suffering from, and well, particularly his mom, but his sort of whole family, is the financial abuse.
Yeah.
And yeah, I wanted to ask you a bit about what that looks like, and also there's some stuff about the Japanese context that I think is slightly different than sort of the American or the Korean context. And I wanted to ask you a bit about that.
Yeah, definitely. So across the board, Unification Church members are expected to bring in a lot of money through fundraising, through tithing, providing free labor or low paid labor through church businesses and stuff. So the case is, though, that in Japan, because of the rhetoric of the church, which is basically born out of the environment in Korea, so there's basically this thought in the church that they say that Korea is the Atom nation because that's where the Messiah came back, South Korea, and that Japan is the Eve nation, supposed to submit to the Atom nation, and also sort of pay indemnity, which is a big word in the church, and for the atrocities committed during the Japanese occupation of Korea. And so this means that Japanese members have to pay significantly more for pretty much everything. So it's like just like instead of like a type of reparations where it's like we'll give you money, it's like they make them suffer for that fact. And so like fundraising goals are very high. Let me see, I think I had a figure here somewhere. So Japanese membership, they bring in roughly like 70% of the church's income. So a large amount for, like proportionally not, there are a lot of members in Japan, however, throughout the world, that is like proportionally, where most of it comes from. And then as of several years ago, the Japanese church fundraising goal was 30 billion yen, or around 210 million for that year, I believe. So just, and so they go out selling ancestor liberation is one thing. You're supposed to pay exorbitant fees for your ancestors to go to heaven. There was a book called the Chanseongyong, and that book was extremely expensive, and of course much more expensive for members in Japan. I think I read a figure where I don't remember what year it was, and it was not very recent. I think it might have been like 1992 or something, or 2002 or something. I'm not sure, but it cost like roughly like 200,000 American dollars to go to the marriage ceremony, one of the mass weddings that the Moonies do, where everybody is arranged married. And so, yeah, just like these huge amounts of money directly flowing from the pockets of the membership and anyone they happen to, give them money into the coffers of the church, and directly on up to like the Moon family, who are billionaires. Another thing I would say here is that they often so for people that they're trying to fundraise from, they often will target like elderly widows and people who are in sort of precarious places, and come to them and say, your family member who's passed away wants you to give this donation to the church. They also like at one point made up like a fake Buddhist sect in order to like specifically target people. So it goes deep. There's a lot to that.
Yeah, I mean, like one of the things I remember reading about was like they had like this whole network of like fake mediums.
Yeah,
who would like specifically to target people we target the sort of widows, which is like, I don't know. I just so much of the stuff that they do is just so incredibly bleak. Like, I think, I mean, the thing that got me was the sort of like the way in which they're sort of weaponizing like Japan's sort of war crimes in South Korea and North Korea as well, and it's like on the one hand, like all this money is just going to like a bunch of like too rich fascists, and then B, like, and I think this is something else we can sort of get into, is like, okay, so the church's main political allies in Japan are the people who did all that shit.
Yep. Like, so no, it's just constant deflection, pretty much.
Yeah, and I mean, it's interesting too, because like you get this, like, so some of the newspapers they fund will like openly say that like Japan should rearm again, and like Japan should like start retaking Korea, and then like you have the other arm of their business being like, hey, pay us money for all the people you guys killed, and it's just, I don't know, it's
pretty fucked.
It's the worst.
It's like, honestly,
Yeah, and I guess, yeah. Well, I think this is as good a place as any to go into. Like, okay, so the Moody's like could not do the things that they do in Japan without an incredibly large degree of institutional support. Part of this is with the Yakuza, because like you can't run like you can't do organized crime stuff like running an entire network of people to defraud widows, like in Japan, without the Yakuza, like you having some kind of deal with them.
Yeah.
And that also bizarrely ties in with sort of how the Unification Church got integrated with the sort of mainstream. Well, yeah, I'm just gonna call them the mainstream. Like, fuck it. People will quibble about the different factions of the LDP. I frankly don't care, for reasons that we'll get to. But yeah, how they got like I guess we should talk about like the origins of how they got ingrained with Japan's like perpetual ruling party, the Liberal Democratic Party. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Were you asking me to explain that?
Yeah. I mean, I can also go into it too, but yeah, no worries.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Sorry. I wasn't sure that was a question.
Yeah. Sorry.
No, it's okay. So yeah, it goes all the way back to so it goes back pretty far. So Nobusuke Kishi, Abe's maternal grandfather. So he initially became sort of embroiled with the UC kind of stuff, Unification Church stuff, in the early days of when the movement was in Japan. He collaborated on stuff like Foundation for Victory Over Communism, spoke at the founding of the organization at a UC church, which was, I think, next to Kishi's estate or something like that.
Yeah, and I think he sold them their first building in Japan. I'm pretty sure.
I think so too.
If I'm remembering something that I read at one point, right?
Yeah. So yeah, and then in 1962, the UC was able to convert 50 leaders of the ultranationalist Nichiren Buddhist sect called, oh gosh, I don't know how to pronounce this, Ryosho Kosei Kai. And they had a lot of strong Yakuza connections. And then Asami Kuboki was the first UC president in Japan. He was the Yakuza lieutenant and second in command of that group that I had just mentioned.
And the other thing we should mention about the sort of how the Yakuza ties go is that, so Nobusuke Kishi is the guy who founds the Liberal Democratic Party, right? Like the Liberal Democratic Party is his creation. It is like what that party is all of Japan's conservatives basically like basically ceding to his authority and being like, okay, fine, we're going to follow your lead. And his party is like, his base and his funding is basically a combination of like, I mean, he like Kishi himself is a like arch World War II war criminal. His base is basically in the old Japanese fascists. He is funded by partially funded directly by the CIA. He's also funded by, but the CIA in particular here is working through the Yakuza, because that's one of the sort of the Willoughby and the sort of Willoughby's technically not CIA, but yeah, basically American intelligence, the American Army starts working through the Yakuza as like an anti-communist force, and he gets bankrolled by these two guys named Kodama and
Sasakawa.
Ryuichi, Sasakawa, who are Kodama is basically like the guy who is in charge of the Yakuza. He's also a fascist. Ryuichi Sasakawa is literally called himself the world's richest fascist. And both of these guys are like huge bankrollers of Kishi. They are also, and when Kishi is like bringing in the church, like this is how all these people have Yakuza connections, because it's the whole sort of Japanese right wing like political machine is like one like happy family that is doing the worst stuff all together at the same time, funded by the CIA.
Yep.
And and also I need to say this, I said this in my episode about Kishi, but like the level of CIA involvement here, like there are individual CIA agents assigned to individual Liberal Democratic Party candidates in the 50s to make sure they won their elections.
I did not know that bit. That's
wild. Yeah.
Wow. So specific. Wow. What?
Yeah.
Concerning things. Oh God. But yeah, so to this day, a lot of LDP candidates and politicians still have ties to the UC, get donations from it, use like membership as like free labor, even like having secretaries from who are members of the UC, and sometimes they would see like some sort of like classified or information and stuff like that. So there's like, apart from like that, like just so interconnected.
Yeah. Do you remember the story about the LDP's like number 2 guy like getting Moon to be able to visit Japan?
Sorry, I don't.
Oh God. Okay. So my memory of this story was, okay, so like Japan has a series of really weird laws about Japan has a series of very weird laws about many, many things. One of them has to do with it's something like if you've been convicted of a felony in another country, you can't enter Japan.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if it's okay. I don't know if it's a felony. I don't know what I'm forgetting what the legal bar is for what you have to be like convicted of in order to not be able to enter the country. But Moon is a he was like convicted by the US government of like perjury and a bunch of other shit because of the crimes that he did. And so he like technically legally could not enter Japan. And then like the vice president of not vice president, I can't remember his title. But basically the second most powerful man in Japanese politics in the 90s, like very specifically did a whole bunch of visa bullshit so that specifically Moon could go to Japan legally.
Not surprising, but wow.
Yeah, it's like
the lengths people will go to collaborate with other fascists.
Yeah, and I think that's I don't know. That's to me what makes this assassination really interesting. Is that like, okay, so if you ask like, and even like in Japan, if you had asked the average person what the connection between like Shinzo Abe and Unification Church was, like most people have no idea. Like before this assassination, most people had like no idea what that was.
Yeah.
After the assassination, the whole landscape has changed. Yeah, I mean, it's been really interesting to watch. It's like this really seems like an incredibly sort of politically effective assassination because okay, so you had there was you had the initial right wing backlash, but the right wing backlash kind of it got kind of muted when it became clear that it like wasn't a left wing radical, which I think would have actually been an enormous disaster.
Yeah.
But then,
since the guy Yamagami was pretty right wing himself.
Yeah, it's like he's a right wing guy, but also like his story is really sympathetic.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, I mean, I feel for the guy. Like, he had so much trauma in his life, honestly, and like it's obvious. Like, and I think, you know, a lot of former members, you know, sort of understand how that feels. Now, most of us haven't assassinated a prime minister, but
so far.
But yeah, like, I mean, we understand that pain of where he is coming from, and like, you know, why, upon learning that Abe had these ties, he sort of like felt like compelled to do something.
Yeah, and I think there's also this element at work here that's kind of weird, which is like, okay, it's very, very hard normally to get like right-wing Japanese people to turn on their own party. The one way that you can do it is by going, hey, look at these Koreans. So there's like weird dynamics going on here. Like there were some like even further right parties who were like, you know, using this thing as a campaign thing of like, this party is like a fake right wing party. Like they're all being run by like Koreans. And it's like, okay, that's like not like the thing that is bad about the Moonies is not that they are Korean. It's that it's all of the other shit that they do. Yep. Yeah. And I think that's complicated, but also, yeah, like the political impact this has been like enormous.
Yes.
Like, yeah. Do you want to talk about that a bit?
Yeah. So, okay. Obviously, it has shined a lot of light on sort of the connections that a lot of members of the government there have from the LDP, as well as other parties, have with the UC, getting donations, etc. People are pissed about it, you know, as they should be. So I guess that Prime Minister Kishida had said that they want to cut ties with the Unification Church at this point. You know, it sort of remains to be seen whether that actually happens or not, because it could easily just be like lip service kind of shit. But the politicians, and I'm not sure if this is specifically for the LDP or sort of across the board, there's like a thing where they're supposed to self-report any ties or donations to the UC, which is just, you know, like, I don't know, like, I don't think everybody's going to come forward with that sort of thing.
Definitely.
If you're supposed to do it yourself, that's like not how that should work. But so I mean, like it remains to be seen, you know, if those ties are actually going to be cut. So also, like, there has been sort of like a lot of support from like lawyer groups like the National Network of Lawyers Against Spiritual Sales, who has, you know, worked with, you know, cult members and like specifically a lot of Unification Church members or former members or whatever who have you know, lost money through spiritual sales, and they've also just recently called for the dissolution of the UC in Japan, which is pretty cool, and I hope that happens. I don't know how realistic it is given like all of the strong ties to the government, but that would be cool. And then also, I saw a thing a couple days ago that Japanese consulates and embassies have a program that is offering advice or assistance to UC members who are Japanese nationals and their children. And that ends on September 30th, I think. So if anybody needs that, get in fast. But I think that also applies in America. So if like you are a Japanese national and like a victim of the UC, or if your parents are, those that are open, and I don't know exactly what the levels of support or resources they're offering are, but it's worth looking into for sure. But yeah, like, so there's been like sort of this outpouring of support from various groups, and there's, you know, like, it's really shining a light on the issue of like, especially what it's like to be a second generation member of a cult and the trauma that people like us have gone through. You know, there are definitely a lot of calls for like support in mental health care, as well as like, you know, ways to sort of get people out of situations like that in the first place. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I hope this translates into actual resources and stuff
I hope so
more
too.
than just sort of like the LDP's approval ratings tanking.
Yeah,
which like
right.
is good, and like it is very funny that Kishida's had to axe like half his cabinet because the ties
Yeah.
are like too close. But
Yep.
yeah, I don't know. I think it remains.
Although
yeah.
he remains in power and he's
Oh,
got
yeah.
ties to the UC too.
Yep,
Interesting.
yep.
So it's like, clearly there's not a lot, like, even if people are like having a little bit of like the smallest level of transparency about this stuff, like I don't necessarily know how far it'll actually go into like, making amends or like protecting people from further abuse or, getting people their money back. I don't know.
I think there's something I think that's really sort of, I don't know, like really grim about the way that this worked out, which is that the Japanese police knew what was going on and why the assassination had happened like immediately.
Mm-hmm.
Like they found his hard drive and he'd written out a whole thing about why he did it.
Yeah.
And then they intentionally held the information and basically were able to maintain a press embargo until after the election happened.
Yeah.
And, now everyone fucking hates the LDP. Like, the Prime Minister's approval rating's like 36%. Like, it's really bad. I mean, it went from like 52 to like 36 in like a couple of weeks. But because the people who are connected to the church are the people in charge, they were able to like suppress this information long enough to like shape how the election was going to go.
Yeah.
And make sure that it was sort of like the right-wing shock from, oh my God, they just assassinated the Prime Minister. And not they assassinated the Prime Minister for a reason that's like incredibly justified and relatable to, like, this is as relatable of a motive of assassination as like I've ever seen.
Yeah, I mean, it's like as far as reasons for assassinating people go, this is a pretty like solid reason. Like there's stuff there.
Yeah, and like, and I think it's just like it's interesting that it's like it's this rare assassination where the assassin is a very empathetic figure to, like, I think a lot of the time when you get people doing stuff like this, like, it's there's a sort of like 1-to-1 correlation with like, okay, like how do you feel about sort of like how do you feel about assassination in general is going to like determine your sort of response to the actual action.
Yeah.
Whereas I think here it's different because, like this is someone who, I mean, I keep saying that he's sort of like eminently relatable, but it's like, this is someone who, I don't know, has been through just an incredible amount of trauma in a way that's like very easily sort of digestible to like regular people.
Yeah, it's like, very obvious trauma and like, I don't know.
And I really hope that really does actually translate into resources for mental health resources, because
I do too. I feel like as well as mental health resources, I hope there are like, financial resources and, like all sorts of other resources as well. Cause like dealing with the fallout of, having been in a cult is incredibly difficult and requires a lot of space and time. And a lot of people are, left with like PTSD after that, and it'll last for your whole life. And that makes, for a lot of people, that makes, getting money and doing job things extremely hard, especially, if you're like getting like emotionally like thrown back into that all of the time. So I hope there are like more, like material resources that are also available in addition to in sort of like mental health care and therapy things, because that's something that I feel like is all too often just not there for people who have been through abuse.
Yeah, and I think also there's this way in which like a lot of this, like insofar as there's any kind of like support network like in the US, and this is also true of Japan I don't know, the Japanese welfare state's not great, but yeah, like there's an extent to which like the sort of like last safety net you have is your family.
Mm-hmm.
And like this is the kind of thing that can very easily cut you off from your family, and that has, you know, I mean, that has emotional consequences, but like, yeah, that has enormous financial consequences that
Yeah.
really don't, like, I don't know. When I was originally doing research on this, like, I read a lot of sort of like people arguing about like deprogramming stuff, and it like they just didn't talk about like that kind of stuff, and it was always just sort of like, I don't know, it struck me as really weird and a sort of like grotesque and detached way to think about it, instead of like,
Yeah. So yeah, it depends on like what type of care it is too, because honestly, deprogramming is another cult. It is
Yeah.
another cult. It's like an anti-cult cult. And it just, you know, it re-traumatizes those who are already traumatized. And honestly, like people who have been deprogrammed sometimes leave, but a lot of the time it just increases their fervor for being part of whatever movement they're a part of already, because they're like, oh, if this is, you know, like what everybody's going to do to me if I leave, like, of course I got to stick with this, because, you know, then like it's like what they've been saying the whole time about, you know, you being persecuted and like hurt and stuff then becomes true, right? Yeah, I guess that's the thing I would say about like that's my disclaimer about deprogramming. And though the collective we are a part of is called Deprogramming Imperialism, that is because the only thing that needs to be deprogrammed really is imperialism and not people, because that's not how that works.
Yeah.
De-radicalization requires a lot of trust, a lot of time, a lot of space, a lot of reflection. It's not something that, you know, you can just like go and like lock somebody in a basement for 2 weeks and then like try to make them leave whatever movement they're part. Like that's just abuse.
Yeah, I think like I don't know. I think it's as an industry, it's not as sort of like powerful as it used to be. But I think like,
Yeah.
I don't know. There's this sense in which it's sort of like, I don't know. It almost has like Civil War logic, where it's like
Yeah.
both sides need the other side as sort
Mhm.
of their like reason to exist.
Yeah.
And you know, so like, and both, you know, and both sides are sort of traumatizing people, and both sides need like they're specifically fighting over the same like group of people, and each of them can sort of like offer the other side as like, oh hey, this is why we need to exist thing. But then it's like, you know, like as with like most civil wars, it's like the actual people caught in it don't. It's like, no, you don't want either side of the civil war. You want out.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's definitely one of those like, oh, you're stuck between a rock and a hard place kind of things. It's like both options suck. Like,
Yeah.
like the two-party system.
Yeah. God. Stalin said two things that were like funny in his entire life. One of them was the Pope, how many divisions does he have? And the second one was they're both worse. And admittedly, he was wrong about they're both worse, but like, yeah, that's a real thing that is the basis of all modern politics.
Honestly.
That is
honestly.
We'd hate to see.
Hate to see it.
Yeah.
Yep.
On the other hand, though, I don't know, like, I am kind of hopeful about this. Like,
I am too.
It genuinely seems to have like changed. Like at the very least, it's changed the way that the Japanese public like sees and understands this whole thing. And like, this is the first time I think ever that there. I mean, like, you know, like the Communist Party and stuff have been trying for like years to get people to care about this. Just no one has really cared since like, I don't know, like basically like since the Japanese left collapsed in like the 70s, like nobody's really cared about this. And I don't know, it really seems like something like it really seems like this assassination has actually changed something about just sort of like the like just the way that the Japanese politics is being structured right now.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I'm moderately hopeful.
I would say I am too. I mean, like, the more light that is shed on this, I think the better. And like, unfortunately, weird things happened, but I feel like if there's any chance for some sort of, you know, across the board, or even in certain areas, just specifically any sort of like justice, that the amount of public attention on this now is, potentially something that could help bring something like that about. So I don't, it's been like sort of a weird ride for us ex-members, with all of that just sort of like re-traumatizing to see everything happen. But at the end of the day, I think a lot of us are hopeful that things can change now that people know about it, because, before that, it wasn't something that was ever really talked about.
Groups like this thrive on this sort of weird combination of like operating in the shadows, and also when they show up, it's through their own PR stuff.
Yeah. Yep.
And sometimes the best way to break that apparently is you shoot someone who was like you shoot a guy who was working for them. And yeah, I don't know.
I mean, yeah, I feel like Yamagami sort of managed to at least, he did what he did a thing, and it has had probably some of the impact that he imagined it would. So I don't know.
Honestly, like from what I've read of his stuff, like I think this went better than he expected it. Like it could possibly have gone.
Yeah.
Like he seemed like really, really sort of just like had abandoned all hope.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I mean, I guess the other thing that I really hope comes out of this is that like you don't have to have people like destroying their lives a second time in sort of like just out of the incredible desperation of what they've been through.
Right. Yeah. Preventing any of that would be optimal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because the longer the Unification Church operates, the more people will be abused and the more violence will come out of it. Like maybe this is the most high profile, like recent bit of violence that's come out of the movement. But it's not unprecedented in any way. So, it's like, that's what happens when people are abused.
Yeah. And I think it's also worth just sort of like reminding people that one of the sort of, so the church is sort of splintered into various factions.
Yeah.
A lot of the people, Trump gave a speech at like at an event of the mainline church. A bunch of one of the other guys, like one of the other splinter factions had a bunch of people at January 6th. So
yeah, Rod of Iron Ministries or Sanctuary Church, and those are the guys who had the AR-15 gun blessing ceremony a few years ago that made the rounds, where they wore bullet crowns in their robes and they had the guns. And they've also got land in Pennsylvania and Tennessee, and also in Waco, Texas, where they're basically preparing people for war with what Sean Moon has described as something akin to the globalist deep state Marxists. I don't know if those are his exact words, but it was something like that. So they're, they have an active militia. They're preparing for war. That is what the Rod of Iron is for them. That is the gun.
Yeah, and these are the, if I remember my stuff on this right, this is the faction that owns Car Arms, right?
Yes, they do. Yeah.
So they have a gun manufacturer. Now, okay, like if Robert were here, Robert would probably start quibbling with me about how good, quibbling with me about the actual quality of the weapons they produce. But like, okay,
but they have them.
They have a weapons manufacturing base, which is terrifying.
Yeah, and they make the Trump gun because, of course, they're all super pro-Trump.
Yeah.
Very like patriot. A lot of QAnon overlap there. And actually, Rod of Iron Ministries in Japan has been helping organize QAnon events. And yeah, so like there was also so basically the relationship between Rod of Iron and the mainline UC is super tense. Sean Moon and a couple of his other brothers basically want their mother dead, and she's the the head of the mainline church right now, and not just dead, but like specifically beheaded. So there was an event recently over the summer, I think it was like the end of June, where Sean was, gosh, I forget where he was in Japan, but basically he was sort of like railing at the audience for supporting his mother Hak Jahan, and then when people spoke up in defense of her, they were literally like physically thrown out of the room. It was super intense. Yeah,
there's footage of it. It is.
Yeah.
Whew.
Yeah, it's a really fucking intense moment.
Yeah.
And he's like there saying she had like sex with a demon or something like that and had fallen, and like, all of this, God, like, I don't know. Sometimes I watch a bit of the guy's speeches just because I'm like, I want to know what the fuck they're up to.
Yeah.
And first of all, it seems like he might do a lot of cocaine, which would not be unprecedented given the Moonies and all of their drug smuggling and shit.
Well, I mean, we have like, what was his name? Oh God, I'm blanking on the name of one of his other sons was like literally spending like a shell corporation's like net income amount like per month on cocaine at one point. Like,
was that Hyojin possibly?
I think it was. Yeah, I think it was Hyojin. Yeah, and he's also an enormous abusive piece of shit.
Yeah,
it sucks.
Yeah.
These people are all, well, okay, that's not true. The people who are still actively involved in the church and who didn't break themselves out and flee like the first opportunity they got are like enormous pieces of shit.
Yeah, I mean, because like even at the end of the day, if they're not specifically doing anything that like directly harms somebody, they're giving money to these institutions that do and to people who do and giving them support and, reinforcing all of that shit. And then,
yeah, I mean,
most of them are just shitty in general too. So.
Yeah, like I also like specifically also about like, yeah, there were a couple of people who like got forcibly married into the family.
Yeah,
who like left, and I do not want people to get the impression that I think they're bad because they're not. Like they got, really horrible stuff happened to them. They were able to escape, and that's good. But also, Jesus Christ, like, oh, yeah.
Yeah. And that's the thing that it's like sometimes hard to talk to like, childhood friends or my family who's still involved. Because I feel like it's like, if you're supporting this group, you're implicitly supporting fascism and murder and death squads and rape and all of these awful things. And, a lot of members don't know that those bits of history about the church. But if anyone who is listening is in the UC, I would definitely say to look those things up because they are all over the place.
Yeah. Okay. So specifically, read Inside the League by Scott and Lee Anderson. Okay. I will say this. Yeah, It is kind of hard to read because these people are journalists. They're not normally book authors, and the idea of starting at the beginning of a story and then moving through to the end of it is like an entirely foreign concept to them. So it is constantly jumping around between 16 million things. But yeah, there is a lot of very good stuff in there.
Yeah, it's an incredible resource. I would also suggest reading there's like a bunch of articles that Robert Parry did from his Consortium News about the UC and like stuff back in the day on it. I would also say check out How Well Do You Know Your Moon?
Yeah.
That's another great resource. Has a lot of like links and direct citations of a bunch of documents and shit. All good stuff. Also, I would plug John Gorenfeld's book.
It's called it's Bad Moon Rising.
Bad Moon Rising.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. John is great. It's another really good book on that.
I think a new edition came out like very recently.
Yeah. So I think he has it actually a PDF of it or something for free on his website. And then another book I would suggest is Gifts of Deceit about the Tongsun Park scandal and Koreagate. Another good one.
God, yeah. The thing about the moon is like, there's just like entire genres of like crime that they do that like doesn't even like make most accounts of them because they're doing too much other crime.
Yeah, literally. There's just so much crime they've just done so much that it's hard to keep track of everything because they literally have 1 million shell corporations and they literally do things under different names and in different places and in different types of atrocities that it's like, how are you supposed to keep up with all this? That's why they do it that way, because you're not supposed to. But
yeah, I mean, it is, I don't know, figuring out how intelligence operations work is like easier than like trying to untangle this shit.
Yeah, honestly, like that stuff was, a little more on the nose. It's like, oh yeah, clearly this is like a joint psychological operation and other like, back channels for money and trafficking things and people and stuff. But then it's like, oh God, what company owns what and how much do they make and like where do they move their money around? It's just like, yeah. I don't know. That side is like, how do I navigate this?
Yeah.
So I am extremely fortunate to be a part of a group of people who's working on this stuff now. What we're going to try to do is sort of make like a Unification Church Wikipedia kind of thing, so that we have like all of it in one place, and then potentially down the line maybe do like a people's history of the Unification Church or something like that.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, we're just compiling a bunch of information.
Yeah, are there ways people can support you and also can support Deprogramming Imperialism in the work you all have been doing?
Yeah, so I have a Patreon. It's Alisa Majoub, ALISA MAHJOUB. You can follow me on Twitter at Alisa_Majoub, same spelling. Deprogramming Imperialism has a Twitter. It is, since Deprogramming Imperialism was too long to put in as a username, the one we are using is No More Cults, which is no_more_cults. And then we have a Instagram as well under Deprogramming Imperialism, I believe. Let me double check. Oop.
Yeah, and we will put links to all this stuff in the show notes.
Yeah. Awesome. Cool. Yeah, it's Deprogramming Imperialism. Just together words. Sorry.
No,
my brain
good.
is just not working.
It's okay.
The words are smashed together. There's no space. That's there we go. I did it.
Yeah, well, I think that's going to be all for us today. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate this, and hopefully, this will just help more people to sort of like understand what's going on there and sort of the history of the UC, and as well as maybe shine some light on the Abe assassination. And the more people who know about this, the better, I think. So I really appreciate being on here because you guys have a pretty big platform, so that means a lot to me.
Yeah, and I'm really glad that you came on for this, because I don't know, like it's really like it's really easy to like cover stuff like this and just never actually sort of like get to the actual human impact of it.
Yeah.
And so I'm really glad I was able to talk to you.
Thank you. I'm glad I was able to talk to you, because it was fun. It was informative, and we're getting the word out. We're doing it. We're doing the thing.
Yeah.
Feels good.
This is Ryder Strong with a podcast called The Red Weather.
In 1995, my neighbor, Anna Trainer, disappeared from a commune.
It was nature and trees and praying and drugs.
So no, I am not your guru.
And back then, I lied to everybody.
They have had this case for 30 years.
I'm going back to my hometown to uncover the truth.
You can now binge all episodes of The Red Weather on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Hey everyone, it's Emily Simpson and Shane Simpson from the Legally Brunette podcast.
Each week, we're bringing you true crime through a legal lens.
Whether you want all the facts on the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie or you still need to wrap your head around the Diddy verdict, we're breaking it all down step by step.
And we're not just lawyers, we're also husband and wife. It makes for some pretty entertaining episodes.
Listen to Legally Brunette on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Ever feel like you're being chased by the marriage police? Welcome to Boys and Girls, the podcast where dating isn't dating. Arranged marriage is basically a reality show, except the contestants are strangers and your entire family is judging. You're sipping coffee with one maybe, grabbing dinner with another, and praying your karmic Ken or Barbie appears before your shelf life runs out. Trust me, I've been through this ancient and unshakable tradition. I jumped in hoping to find love the right way, and instead I found chaos, cringe, and comedy. And now I'm looking for healing. Boys and Girls dives into every twist and turn of the arranged marriage carousel. The meet awkward, the near misses, the heartbreak, and let's not forget all the jokes. Listen to Boys and Girls on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
You know Roald Dahl, the writer who thought up Willy Wonka, Matilda, and the BFG. But did you know he was also a spy?
Was this before he wrote his stories? It must have been.
Our new podcast series, The Secret World of Roald Dahl, is a wild journey through the hidden chapters of his extraordinary, controversial life.
His job was literally to seduce the wives of powerful Americans.
What?
And he was really good at it.
You probably won't believe it either.
Okay, I don't think that's true.
I'm telling you, the guy was a spy.
Did you know Dahl got cozy with the Roosevelts, played poker with Harry Truman, and had a long affair with a congresswoman? And then he took his talents to Hollywood, where he worked alongside Walt Disney and Alfred Hitchcock before writing a hit James Bond film. How did this secret agent wind up as the most successful children's author ever? And what darkness from his covert past seeped into the stories we read as kids? The true story is stranger than anything he ever wrote. Listen to The Secret World of Roald Dahl on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
On pictures of Alexander Dugin moments after his daughter exploded in a car bomb.
Again, I don't have any problems beating puppies. Oh no, this isn't recorded.
Welcome to It Could Happen Here, the podcast where Garrettson Davis is fine with violence against dogs.
Yeah, right as you said that, Anderson barked, by the way.
Wow. Cancelable.
Uh-huh.
Cancelable.
Deathly allergic to dogs.
But they love you so much.
So if people were gonna pick an assassination method for me, just to get a whole bunch of dog dander and rub it on my pillow, and I'll be dead the next morning.
I've seen you get rubbed on by a bunch of dogs, and you've never died yet.
No, yeah, that's
you get
true.
uncomfortable, and you have to use your inhaler, and it's but I just ignore that.
You get uncomfortable, and you have to use your inhaler. Robert's like, that's great. I'm super thrilled with that outcome.
Mm-hmm.
You know what other outcome I'm thrilled with?
Oh, good.
So
great intro.
Yeah, sick transition. That was great.
So we are talking about the assassination of Alexander Dugin's daughter.
Hell yes.
It's kind of a wild story. There's a lot of weird things going on. We still don't know much about what actually happened. There's a lot of conflicting theories, a lot of experts who are saying different quote unquote experts who are saying different things. It's wild, but I have a little write-up here that we're going to go through based on what I assume everyone's questions will be about this assassination. First thing, probably before we get into Alexander Dugin's daughter, I guess it's probably worth clarifying who Alexander Dugin is, because to understand the nature of this assassination and possible motives, it's important to know who he is as a person. So, I know we've talked about Dugin on the show before, kind of briefly, but Alexander Dugin is a Russian traditionalist, neo-fascist political theorist. Some people call him a philosopher. Boy. I think that's being a little generous.
That's so many fun things in a row in that description.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, he was born in 1962 into a high-ranking military family. And Dugin spent his early years as an anti-communist dissident in the collapsing Soviet Union. He joined various dissident, ultranationalist, occult, anti-Semitic, and fascist groups or collectives that sprung up during the last 2 decades of the Soviet Union. In the 90s, he was one of the founders of the Russian National Bolshevik Party, which he left in the late 90s because the party was not fascist enough. So he left the political party he helped start because it had too many of the Bolshevik parts of the National Bolshevik Party. He kind of carries on some of the traditionalist political philosophy from 20th century esoteric fascist writers like Julius Evola, whose book on pagan imperialism Dugin translated into Russian.
Just as a brief bit of context for people, now, fascism and communism are portrayed as in strict opposition to each other. But if we're going back to the 20s and 30s, a lot of these guys had a lot of things in common. There were times where the Communist Party of Germany and the Nazis would fight the cops together. There were people in the Nazi Party who were more or less national Bolsheviks in terms of their political outlook.
Yeah.
And they were all murdered on the Night of Long Knives. Like, the Nazi Party had a left wing that it purged. Anyway, this is not coming out of nowhere. This isn't a new development.
Well, and the thing with Dugin is that he really does carry on that type of red-brown alliance idea with a lot of his politics of bringing together some of the more harder fascists with some people who are more like authoritarian communists. And we see that with the National Bolshevik Party. At this point, Dugin is probably most known for his influence on contemporary Russian politics, the neo-Eurasianism ideology, his writing on the multipolar world theory, and his fourth political theory about the ascension of Russia as the world's traditionalist political power, and usurping the kind of political dominance of the United States. And Dugin's neo-Eurasianism is described by Anton Shashekosglav, an Eastern European far-right scholar, as, quote, a form of fascist ideology centered on the idea of revolutionizing the Russian society and building a totalitarian, Russian-dominated Eurasian empire that would challenge and eventually defeat its eternal adversary represented by the United States and its Atlanticist allies, thus bringing about a new golden age of global political and cultural illiberalism. Unquote. So it's very cool. Centered in just being against the ideas of liberalism and being against globalist liberalism, actual globalization, and still carrying over a lot of influences from esoteric writers like Julius Evola in terms of its anti-modern, anti-liberal politics based in traditional,
anti-multicultural, right?
Yeah, a lot of if you ever see someone screaming about globo homo or something, that's probably one of these guys.
Yeah, and that Dugin's daughter actually, in her last ever interview, talks about that a little bit, and we're
globo homo.
Yes.
No, this is there's a lot of people in the U.S. who see this shit and mistake it for anti-imperialism, and it's basically because they've lost the ability to conceive of an empire that isn't the U.S., Britain, or France. And even that's sort of tenuous. And it's guys,
from a lot of these questionable accounts, you get the attitude that only the United States is capable of being imperialism, which is then just say you're anti-US. Just say you're anti the United States, because you're not anti-imperialism. Because let me tell you something, there've been a lot of empires in history.
So what a controversial statement from Robert Evans.
Yeah. Quite a few different empires over time. They are not all America.
Probably worth pointing out that Russia, as it exists, is an empire, right? It's just a contiguous one. It's one that is joined by land, not separated by seas. Doesn't stop it being an empire.
Yes.
As we can see with them trying to expand into Ukraine, which is heavily influenced itself by some of the theory that Dugin was writing from the 90s up until now. And then kind of in reference to Dugin's influence on contemporary Russian politics, especially since Russia's so far failed invasion of Ukraine, Dugin is often referred to as quote-unquote Putin's brain or quote-unquote Putin's Rasputin. And while he is certainly very well connected and has And while he is certainly well connected and has quite a bit of influence in Russia and the global far right movement in general, the degree to which he holds significant power in the decisions that Putin makes is definitely heavily contested among actual political experts.
Yes.
We think the whole Putin's brain and Putin's like Rasputin thing is a little bit overemphasized sometimes. Dugin's never held office. Dugin's never. We don't even have a picture of Dugin and Putin together. Like we don't even know if they've actually like been in the same room.
Yeah. We don't know if they're the same person.
The thing you want
yes,
to know,
Dugin and Putin are the same person. Yes, that's correct, Chris.
The thing that is important to know about Putin as regards Dugin, because again, as Garrison said, not trying to make a statement here about the degree to like saying that he is or is not any kind of influence, but Vladimir Putin has been doing this, has been working towards where he is now for decades, and is a guy who has had a view of the world for decades that he's worked towards making real. And it's not a view of the world that you need to be. Dugin's an esotericist. Like, you do not need to think esoterically to understand what Vladimir Putin is doing. He wants to reunite the Russian imperial project that fell apart when the Soviet Union did, using violence and whatever other means he can do, which is why he's done what he's done in Georgia. It's why he's doing what he's doing in Ukraine. This is not like complicated. Understanding Putin's motivations is not hard.
I think a lot of people have kind of leaned into that Putin's brain thing, especially since the invasion of Ukraine, because in Dugin's seminal 1997 book, The Foundations of Geopolitics, Dugin lays out his vision to divide the world up and calling for Russia to rebuild its influence through annexations and alliances, while all in heavy opposition to Ukraine as a sovereign state. And a lot of Dugin's writing has been about trying to reconquer Ukraine and absorb it into Russia.
And he's a useful guy, but again, sorry. I
don't know. Like the in an article from the Guardian that I was using for it's one of the sources for this episode, they claim that The Foundations of Geopolitics was a very popular book in the Russian General Staff Academy. And kind of was one of the things that shifted Dugin from like a weird esoteric dissident to actually becoming a more influential and prominent pillar of the conservative establishment inside Russia. As Dugin's writing evolved, started to emphasize less the more esoteric elements. His writing did get more popular in Russia, but at this point he is stronger as a symbol. Less so than having actual personal influence over decision making.
Yeah. You know what does have influence over your decision making? They have influence over your decision making. The
subliminal messages that we've been placing inside our ads for the past 3 years. Mm-hmm. That has been an esoteric project of my design to influence you to buy these products and services. That's right, James.
Mm-hmm. I'm trying to. I think we have a couple of different esoteric projects. I'm not sure what y'all's is. I'm trying to get people to bring the Subaru Baja back. That was the Subaru car that had like a little truck bed in the back.
Yeah, that was the Subaru car.
Oh my god! What a fucking
yeah. I was going to combine
Speaking
car and
of
truck
like
into one word, but I realized where that was taking me. And I stopped immediately.
No, it is a cuck.
Yeah.
It is a cuck. It's my second favorite cuck.
Yeah. Why don't they call it the Subaru Cuck? And I would buy one immediately.
Yeah. The Subaru Cuck. Yes.
Yeah. Please buy a Subaru Cuck. Enjoy these adverts.
And we're back. All right.
Sure
so I think it's now actually time to talk about the actual casualty in this assassination, which is not Alexander Dugin. It is instead Daria Dugina.
Daria Deadgina, more like it.
Yes. She was born on December 15th, 1992.
Wow.
Daria herself was a Russian journalist and far-right activist who was very vocal in support of the invasion of Ukraine.
Quotes there. Yeah.
Well, I mean, she did work for a number of journalism outlets, not only in Russia, including in France. Like she was a journalist. She did work. It wasn't very good. She's a bad person.
Okay.
But she worked for a few French outlets.
Sure.
She was very vocal in support of the invasion of Ukraine in accordance with her father's political theories. She studied at the Moscow State University, specializing in the political philosophy of late Neoplatonism. So you already know she's going to be really annoying.
Yeah. If anyone even tries to describe that degree program to me, I might hit them. Like, absolutely no.
Yeah, we have in that one sentence alone laid out justification for assassination.
Okay, okay, come on.
Yeah.
I think that's a bit too far. I'm
gonna say right now, I bought property with land so that when people say the word Neoplatonism around me, I can get rid of the body.
So, here's some fun facts about Daria. She played the flute. She was in a band.
Yeah.
I think in college, called Dason May Refuse, which was an electronic music band. Now, Dason,
I bet her shit did actually rock.
It probably did slap. I mean, like, and this was when she was less of a fascist, actually. Now, just in terms of something that kind of an interesting note here. So Dason translates to "here being," which is one of Alexander Dugin's favorite terms. It's related to the philosophical concepts espoused by Martin Heidegger.
Espoused.
Yes. So it's just a little nerdy reference to both her father. I guess she was probably exposed to the phrase via her father, but it's a Heidegger reference. So she named her electronic music band off of Heidegger.
If you're in a band,
we need to kill her ghost now,
which is pretty funny.
Yeah. If you're in a band with a Heidegger reference, leave that band now.
But yeah, when she was in university, her friends say she actually wasn't really into her dad or her dad's politics. Her friends talk about that when she was in university, she really liked Guy Debord. She was interested in some of the more
situationist.
Yeah, it's like
Guy
she was
Debord. Just quickly, it's like a lot of popular stuff on the left now. Shit like Crime Think, but also stuff like. Adbusters is influenced by Guy Debord.
Yeah. I mean, also like the French Revolution in 1968. Why was I going to say 1848?
Yeah, but
I was
trying to Guy Debord.
Guy Debord was alive for 120 years.
Yeah,
and never aged.
He was also, I will say, this is a thing a lot of people don't know about Debord, was influential in the development of war games and is part of the intellectual tradition that gave us Warhammer 40,000.
That actually makes a lot of sense.
His game is sick.
It makes complete sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so she was into stuff like that inside university.
Situationism.
And
was she a situationist?
Yeah.
No, I don't.
She must have been if she likes.
I don't think she would have. I don't think she would have described herself as that.
Okay.
But that was the types of stuff that she liked talking about, and that was the types of groups that she was involved with. She never talked about her father, and her father was already a very popular person at this time, specifically inside Russian universities. But she did not jive with that type of stuff. And then by the end of her kind of time in university, she started shifting more towards what her friends describe as orthodoxy. I would say is like she shifted more towards her father's traditionalist stuff. I'm not sure what exactly caused this shift to happen. But here's a quote from one of her friends. Quote, it was strange because before that she'd not shown any interest in him and her father had no influence on her. And
that is strange.
It's something by the end of her time in university and by the time she was out of university, she actually just became an activist with the international Eurasianism movement of Dugin and began to arrange lectures for her father and became a very active supporter of his. And then after that, she started writing for state-run news outlets like RT and running parts of her father's website, where she was then listed as his press secretary and started to appear at the events of the Eurasian movement as a speaker as well. So she shifted in like the last like probably 10, 15 years, past like 10 years, she was shifting more towards her father, even though when she was in her 20s, she was more into some of the French leftist stuff.
That doesn't surprise. Number one, it's pretty normal for young people to rebel against their parents in that era and like be interested in stuff outside of it. And like, I think there's a couple of different ways this could have gone, but a thing that makes total sense to me is that she's rebellious. She explores some things. The primary thing she learns is that life out there is hard, and like making a living on your own and completely is difficult. And her dad has a lot of influence, and she can make a lot of money working for him. And so back she goes.
Yep.
I don't know. I don't know the woman.
She lost a lot of her friends over this because when she started doing stuff with her dad, her friends who were like situations people are like, no, fuck that. We're not going to hang out with you if you're going
it seems like a reasonable response.
Yeah, it's kind of actually a bummer. Like I only got to this part of her life a few days ago when I was doing the research, and this is something I stumbled upon later into my research for this episode because I was mainly focused on like the actual assassination part. And when I found this, I was like, oh, that's actually kind of sad.
Yeah, that is sad.
Yeah, I will say I don't know if this is at work here, but there is a thing. There is a current in the French ultra left, like after 68, like going into the 70s and 80s, that gets like really fucking weird and kind of goes fascist based around. It's a long story. There's a whole thing about a guy who was like sort of involved in the ultra left circles who was like, I think he'd been in a concentration camp, but he'd been in one of the ones that like wasn't an extermination camp, and he started doing like Holocaust denial. And there's like this whole fucking thing where like a bunch of these people kind of went really fucking weird. The rest of the people, like the rest of the ultra left disowned them, and like they like were kind of involved in a bunch of the sort of like the like founding the French neo-fascism.
Yeah,
so
I mean,
it's not it's not a path that like has never happened before.
Yeah, that's not coming out of nowhere.
No, especially when your father is who he is. Yeah, that's not. Yeah. It's not surprising. Yeah. So when she started, in the past few years, she started acting as her father's press secretary, scheduling events for him. She was doing more writing on her own in various outlets, including state-run outlets, but also outlets in other countries. But definitely shifting more towards the kind of traditionalist Eurasianism side of politics. Earlier this year, she was sanctioned by both U.S. and U.K. authorities, who under accusations that she was significantly contributing to online disinformation around Russia's invasion. And in an interview just a few months before her death, Daria expressed pride that both she and her father had been targeted by Western sanctions. She kind of wore it as a badge of honor.
It's anti-imperialism. That's what it is.
In its filing, the UK Office of Financial Sanctions called Dugina a frequent, high-profile contributor of disinformation in relation to Ukraine and the Russia invasion of Ukraine on various online platforms.
Cool.
And to get a sense of how she actually politically described herself in the months before her death, in an interview from May of 2022, she described herself as, quote, a political observer of the international Eurasianist movement and an expert in international relations. My field of activity is in the analysis of European politics and geopolitics. In this capacity, I appear on Russian, Pakistani, Turkish, Chinese, and Indian television channels presenting a multipolar worldview of political processes. For me, a particularly important issue is the development of the multipolar world theory. It is clear that the globalist movement is over, and the end of liberalism has come. The end of liberal history, unquote. So, and
backwards Fukuyama.
And guess what she thinks is going to replace liberal history. It's
I have some theories.
It's orthodox, traditionalist Russian fascism.
Yeah.
She, in that same interview, she described the war in Ukraine as, quote, a clash between globalist and Eurasian civilization, unquote.
Oh, I'll let my friends in Kyiv know what they are. That's great. They'll be excited by that.
Yeah.
It is one of the things that's been sort of interesting to me about this whole thing is like, okay, so Dugin sort of comes out of like Russian national Bolshevism to some extent, right? But then like if you look at the propaganda about Ukraine, it's like, okay, these people are all Nazis, but like also they're communists and also they're gay, and it's like,
yes, well that's the thing is like, you know, people like Dugin and Dugina, while being absolutely fascists, can pretend to be against Nazis for various reasons. Dugina definitely is, and Dugin as well, are pretty homophobic, and they view gayness as a sign of like degenerate liberalism. So like, but like they definitely walk that line between like but you know, and that's the thing a lot of the like Red Brown Alliance or National Bolshevik type things do, is walk that line in how they try to present their, you know, cultural beliefs, which are heavily based in traditionalism, versus their beliefs on like fascism and communism. But anyway, we let's see. In her last ever interview, which took place on the day of her death, Dugina said that, quote, Western
just like Biggie, by the way.
I don't know who that is.
Oh my god!
Oh no!
God damn it!
Why
Garrison!
God damn it!
We need to stop. Everyone needs to stop.
All right, we're doing a Biggie episode next.
Garrison, you have your homework for this week.
Yeah.
Please come back next week and do better.
So in her last ever interview, she said that, quote, Western totalitarianism has come to an end, and a special military operation is, it seems to me, the last nail in the coffin of this world hegemon. And then later on in the interview, she talked about how environmentalism, support for transgender people, quote, the conversion of a person into a homosexual, unquote, as well as veganism and freeganism are tools with which the West is trying to fragment society and reduce its population.
Yeah, freeganism.
My friends who dumpster dived so they could buy more drugs 15 years ago were part of a conspiracy to fragment society. It's not that cocaine was expensive and the fucking Trader Joe's didn't lock its dumpster. It's that, okay, awesome.
So those were the views that she espoused hours before dying. So
well,
talking about the conversion of a person into a homosexual, transgender people, freeganism as being the things that are destroying the West.
Right, to be clear, all of these things are based and should in fact destroy the West.
Yeah, if the thing that finally kills capitalism is dumpster diving teens, I will be thrilled. But I just don't see it happening.
So before we get to the actual deed, let's set the stage for where this event took place and where everything went down. So it's August 20th, a Saturday. Alexander Dugin and Daria Dugina are attending this festival just outside of Moscow, where Dugin's making a planned appearance at. And he gave a lecture that Saturday evening at this festival. Now, the festival is called the Tradition, quote unquote. Tradition is what everything calls it. So I wonder what the festival is about, huh?
I'm sure it's just appreciation of the headline song from the play Fiddler on the Roof. As best sung by Zero Mostel. Look it up. Seriously, look it up. It's an incredible performance.
That must have been it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the Tradition Festival is billed as, quote, a patriotic cultural festival and family event for art, literature, and music lovers.
No dance. No traditional dance.
This is the lamest thing I've ever heard.
So it's basically, it's this traditionalist kind of quasi-fascist like art festival for people who like Neoplatonism, is what it actually is. It takes place in Zarkovo Manor. It's this big estate about 12 miles away from Moscow. The Tradition Festival is supported by the Presidential Fund for Cultural Initiatives, the Ministry of Culture and Tourism for the Moscow region, among a few other kind of sponsors. And both Daria and her father were special guests at this year's festival. In an interview, a colleague of Dugina's said that the conversation topics at the festival between Dugin, his daughter, and other Tradition Festival attendees, they said this in an interview, quote, we talked about the Russian idea, the empire, and the cultural war, unquote. So that's just like the regular conversations you're having at this festival to give you a sense of like what this thing actually is. And the blast that did kill Dugan's daughter happened shortly after Dugina left the Tradition Festival at the estate where her father had given a lecture just hours previous. Do you know who won't blow up? And
I don't want to say that.
Yeah, that's
we actually look. I'm going to say right now, if you are planning to assassinate a member of the Dugan family and want to sponsor our podcast, we're on board. I think we're fine with that. Actually,
yeah, there's a discounted tier for those people.
Yeah. Actually, we'll do it for free. Just give us a name,
because we are Freegans and we're tearing down society.
This is part of our radical Freegan identity. This is what I'm going to do in between stealing old pumpkin spice coffee from the Trader Joe's dumpster.
Unbelievable. I will do a traditionalism because pumpkin spice coffee is destroying the West. We have to kill it.
Yeah.
Robert and Daniel fucking love the pumpkin spice.
It's amazing.
It's destroying.
It's disgusting. It's not
this
for
is
me.
Degenerate liberalism in the form of pumpkin spice coffee has to end.
I do not enjoy it in any way, shape, or
No, I don't want to yuck your yum. I'm happy that Robert enjoys his coffee.
Thank you for being a friend.
I would like to yuck your yum, Robert.
Oh my God. Well, here's an ad break.
You know what? Yes.
We are back. I'm going to open up with a quote from.
I love quotes.
From the bomb. Boom.
I don't know who that. I don't know what that is. Oh, the bomb.
The bomb that blew her. Yeah.
Kablooey. Yeah.
Now, Mr. Bomb, when you exploded, what's going through your head then? What are you thinking about?
Yeah. Parts of Daria Dugina.
We actually.
Great.
But no, to actually
no, perfect.
Yeah, we're finishing Assassination Week.
To actually justify some of our kind of glee at this happening, because Dugan's a horrible person. I'm
and
gonna
so
read
is his daughter. They're both trash. Yeah.
Yes,
fuck 'em.
I am going to read a quote from Piotr Sauer in The Guardian. Quote, on Saturday night, the violence that the ultra-nationalist Russian thinker Alexander Dugin has propagandized for decades suddenly entered his own life when his daughter was killed in a car bomb on the outskirts of Moscow.
Love to see it.
I think that's a really important thing. That he's made his entire career off of doing violence on other people and promoting genocides on people that he doesn't like.
There are people I know who are dead because of the war that he and his daughter urged to happen. So
it's the same thing as when every single fucking neocon ghoul dies. No one should feel bad about them at all because they dedicated their entire lives to having another country be invaded and having all these people killed, their lives destroyed. So fuck them.
But the violence that he's fetishized and propagandized for decades has actually entered his life for the first time now.
And that's funny.
So, after giving a talk at the festival, Dugan and his daughter were due to leave the venue together in the same car.
If only.
Dun, dun, dun.
But at the last minute, Dugan decided to travel separately and take different vehicles.
He was tipped off by the CIA.
According to a friend of the family. Now, because at the last minute he did decide to take another vehicle, this actually has spawned a lot of conspiracy theories, which we'll kind of get into in a bit later. But this is what happened: is that they were going to leave together, and at the last minute they decided to take separate vehicles. 5 minutes later, while Dugina was driving a Toyota Land Cruiser on the highway.
That's a little bit of a tragedy.
That is a tragedy.
That's a fine car. It didn't deserve to end that way.
Yeah.
Robert, why couldn't it have been a Ford?
Robert, sometimes sacrifices are necessary for the cause.
Yeah, but this is.
I'm gonna put that Land Cruiser on a flag.
Let's all pour one out for Comrade Toyota Land Cruiser. You served us well. You made the ultimate sacrifice,
so that mankind might be free to go off-roading.
So, as she was driving this Toyota Land Cruiser on the highway, a bomb exploded in her car, killing her immediately and sadly ripping the vehicle apart. Witnesses say debris was thrown all over the road as the Toyota Land Cruiser immediately lost control and crashed into a fence and engulfed in flames.
Was anyone else hurt?
No. There's
incredible stuff.
Yeah,
I mean, a really solid assassination. Honestly,
it's one of the better executed ones, especially for a car bomb.
Yeah, for a car bomb, those
it's one of the most impressive car bomb attacks that has ever happened.
Having recently seen a car bomb, that's
that car bomb killed nobody, but that was quite a car bomb.
It was a big boom.
We thought that fucker was an airstrike at first.
Yeah, that was a large car bomb.
So. Eyewitnesses called the fire brigade, but by the time they arrived, the entire car was up in flames, and firefighters only found one badly burnt corpse in the remains of the vehicle. So investigators say an explosive device planted under the car went off and the vehicle caught fire. This happened about 12 miles west of Moscow in the village near the village of
You don't need to try that. Nobody needs
Bolshire.
to know.
Valzimi. Velzimi.
Okay.
Velzimi. Near the village of Bolshar Velzimi at around 9:30 p.m. local time. Investigators do believe the bombing was, quote, premeditated and
really?
Really?
Wasn't one of those casual spur of the moment guys just walking down the street with a bomb, see Stugina driving her.
Yeah, why not? But you didn't buy the explosive edition.
It wasn't a vehicle error. This was a bomb planted
Land Cruiser
under.
won't let you down like that.
No,
if
absolutely
it had been
not.
a Ford or a Chevy, a Pinto.
Sure, yeah. If a fucking F-150 goes up like that, I'm blaming Ford. But no, this must have been a bombing.
So the bomb was placed under the car on the driver's side. Now, a friend of the family named Andrei Krasnov, who's also the head of the Russia Horizon social movement, was one of the first ones to confirm the reports of Daria's death, but also said that the bomb could have actually been intended for her father. And he gave this quote to media, quote, "This was the father's vehicle. Daria was driving another car, but she took his car today, while Alexander went in a different way. He returned. He was at the site of the tragedy. As far as I understand, Alexander, or probably them together, were the target," unquote. Now, this is just speculation, actually. From what I can tell, there is actually more evidence suggesting the car was indeed registered to Daria Dugina. I don't believe it is her father's car. There was some of the vehicle registration was leaked by a Russian opposition news site, like a news site in Russia, who is not state funded. Leaked the car registration. It was registered to Daria, not Alexander Dugin. But it is very likely that Dugin may have been a target as well. Like extremely likely. It's hard to say. Now, in one of the funniest parts of the assassination, footage posted on Telegram appears to show Mr. Dugin walking up to the site of the crash, and in shock, with his mouth just gaping open and hands on his head, like he's in like this surprised meme face. It's one of the funniest things I've ever seen.
Yeah.
He's walking up to the site of the crash, like, oh, it's very. That's the sound of the face he's making. Is oh. We love to see a wizard in distress.
Sad wizard.
So the attack happened on Saturday, and then come Monday, the Federal Security Service, or the FSB, said that the murder has been solved. Come the next Monday, and this is not true. This is what we call a lie.
From the FSB.
So,
yes, that's really disappointing.
An untruth. Yeah, that's. Wow.
From the Russian FBI. No.
Yeah.
No.
Look, no intelligence service has ever told a lie.
They're not included in
that's disappointing.
So yes,
really
according to the FSB, the attack was masterminded by the Ukrainian secret services And
oh wow, they painted on them.
And carried out by an Azov Ukrainian national named Natalia Volk. Who fled
Volk. Wow.
What?
Last name Volk.
Yeah.
We're pitting the crime on Johnny Racist.
So Keith hit the fan, did it again.
Who fled to Estonia.
Estonia.
That's Estonia. Yeah.
Estonia following the killing. So Russia's FPS did a very brief investigation.
FSB.
Yes, sorry. Russia's FSB did a very brief investigation, claimed that it was this female Ukrainian citizen, and that she fled the next day, which was Sunday. Ukraine says, not really.
Nah, brah.
Yeah, that's basically the statements that Ukraine has made.
Ukraine's really good at that noise, actually.
It's one of those things. I would not be surprised, obviously, if Ukraine did it and they have the people responsible or some of their network are still in country. Of course, you make a denial. But if Ukraine did it and they were out of the country, I can't imagine why they wouldn't be like, yeah, man, we fucking did it.
So
we're at war.
I'll read the actual statement. So a Ukrainian official dismissed the accusations of Ukraine's involvement in the incident. Quote, Ukraine, of course, has nothing to do with this because we are not a criminal state, which is the Russian Federation, and even less a terrorist state, said Mikhailo Podolyak, who is an advisor to President Zelensky. So,
maybe.
Ukraine obviously denies involvement in this.
There's a bunch of people it could be. Could be Ukraine, could be the CIA, could be Ukraine and the CIA, could be the FSB. Or the GRU.
A lot of people have theorized all of those things.
Yeah, there's really no way to know. A lot of people could have done this. Yeah.
Are we going to get into the person who detonated the bomb or like the car they used?
We don't know what actually happened. I'm going to get to some of this a bit later, but some of the actual mechanisms that caused it to happen are still unclear because the FSB is not like given us any definitive evidence on how this thing actually worked. But the head of the Donetsk People's Republic, they issued their own statement on Telegram saying, "Vile villains, the terrorists of the
scoundrels."
Oh, so they're just doing a Cobra Commander. That's awesome. You know what?
Vile villains, the terrorists of the Ukrainian regime trying to eliminate Alexander Dugin, blew up his daughter in a car. We cherish the memory of Daria. She is a real Russian girl. That's their statement.
What? I love that they add in a car as if that makes it worse. That like if they'd blown her up some other way, it would not have been as vile. But in a car.
I just love that they end it with, she was a real Russian girl.
Yeah.
It's like Pinocchio, but
it's very funny. So some politicians and experts, quote unquote experts, I've said that Putin himself may have orchestrated the bombing with little to no evidence in support of that theory. There was a British member of parliament said that Putin may have targeted Dugin over recent criticisms made against his government, which I find to be very fishy.
Putin's gotten rid of a shitload of guys who used to be close to him lately, and he didn't use car bombs for
he pushed them out windows.
Yeah, they commit suicide. They get sick, you know?
A lot of many historians or extremism kind of researchers are definitely kind of eyeing up the FSB.
Sure.
It's really unclear. There was people have proposed that like this attack was orchestrated to kind of create a wave of needed anger in Russia 6 months into their failed invasion.
Yeah, how'd that work for them?
Ruslan Trad, a security researcher in the U.S. think tank Atlantic Council, proposed that the FSB or other Russian state kind of apparatuses could have been involved, saying that it's evident that the murder of Dugina created a wave of needed anger in Russia, and that, quote, Dugin is now mostly a symbol, not an instrument for the state. His role in the creation of current Kremlin mythology for Eurasia and the so-called Russian world has already ended, and he can be sacrificed. currently the Russian army needs victories and a patriotic flame. So they're kind of he's proposing that it was like this like symbolic sacrifice that like if we sacrifice this figure that means this thing, people will be willing to like keep on fighting.
The Ukrainians have literally bombed and struck inside Russia at this point and killed 50,000 plus of their children. You would think that would be enough to make the Russians angry. Like blowing up this weirdo's daughter isn't going to be the thing that galvanizes the nation.
Well, to be clear, though, this is the kind of dumb shit the Atlantic Council would be advocating for.
It is absolutely stupid Atlantic Council shit. Yes.
Yeah.
And now one of the funnier explanations that or theories being posited is by former Russian state deputy Ilya Ponomorov, who is now in an appearance on his Russian language opposition TV channel in Kyiv, alleged that Dugina was killed by Russian partisans from a previously unknown anti-Putin terrorist group dubbed the National Republican Army, and that both Dugin and his daughter were targets. And according to this guy, the group authorized him to issue their manifesto via his Telegram channel. And this group is entirely made up. This is not real. This former Russian official turned this like Ukrainian lib guy who claims that it's this secret anti-Putin liberal terrorist group that contacted him and secret. This was their first ever attack. Yeah. They're going public as this new terrorist group. And absolutely not.
I'm going to say this is the only one of these theories that is that I don't believe. Like this assassination is a lot like what happened to Epstein, where everyone who brings up a theory has some other reason for having that theory, and so I don't trust anything anyone says about it. But every theory about how he might have died is plausible, right? Like all of these are plausible. Yeah, I don't care what the Atlantic Council has to say, but yeah, it could have been the FSB. I don't care about like what the Russian government has to say, but yeah, it could have been the Ukrainians, but definitely was not liberal terrorist groups first bombing.
No, yeah, like this is the thing. Like that one of the single thing where like you can instantly tell that someone is lying about what happened in a bombing is when they say a previously unknown group. Like every single this happens constantly.
It's so hard to bomb things.
Yeah.
Like
so. Sergei Samleny is a German political expert with particular focus on Russia and Eastern Europe. Yeah, he definitely has made a lot of statements talking about how Kremlin's version of events is definitely, he says, totally fake and absolutely out of the scale of possibility in terms of blaming it on this one Ukrainian Azov fighter who infiltrated Russia. Well, so the FSB has produced quote unquote evidence to in support of this theory, saying that this Ukrainian citizen who arrived in Russia in July with her daughter rented an apartment in the same building as Dugina's and spied on her.
Easy time to enter Russia as a Ukrainian, by the way. July of this year.
Yes.
With your child.
With your child. Rented an apartment in the same building as Dugin's daughter, so specifically as Dugin's daughter, and spied on her in like the month before the killing. The FSB released a purported passport photo of the Ukrainian citizen, as well as footage that allegedly showed her in Russia, with many people, including Ukrainian officials and kind of data analysts and like disinformation researchers, pointing out the various ways that the document seems forged or digitally fabricated. And Samleny also says that this National Republican Army group is completely made up, because like there's no way that there could be a terrorist group like this who's like an actual group active that's not infiltrated by the FSB right now. Just like he's like, you're not like people can do individual acts of terrorism, but to have like a big group like this comprised of like former Russian officials, he's like, that's just impossible. That's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
No, I agree with all of that. Honestly, one reason why someone involved in the Russian security state is plausible is because this was such a good bombing.
It was very good.
I'm leaning, whoever it is, because CIA is also like, I'm leaning towards it's a state actor, or because like fucking bombs are hard to make.
Especially
like almost close to 0% of the time when an independent terrorist group makes a bomb, does it work the way it's meant to?
Yeah,
and this wasn't even ignition based. This blew up as she was driving on the highway. So
in
like
a remote
people have
area,
theorized
like,
it was. Yeah, like it could have been like heat activated. It could have had like a timer based on ignition stuff, but like whatever mechanism that got it to blow up is more complicated than your average car bomb, and it was way more successful than your average car bomb. So it's like it's bizarre how good they were at doing this.
Yeah, and like I think it's worth mentioning, like, okay, like there was a time where you could just, if you needed to make a car bomb, like you could hire a guy who would teach you how to make a car bomb. Like, we don't live in that era anymore. Like that, like in the 70s, you could plausibly do that, right?
Although, if
There were
that's the
just sort
kind of training
freelancers.
you want to offer for people to help try to take out Alexander, again, sponsor our podcast.
Yeah, our podcast sponsored by Becca Valley 2, Becca Harder.
I do believe that I have this one source here that it's the FSB claimed that the bomb was either made of or equivalent to 500 grams of TNT, which is
what?
That seems like a bit much.
Which is complete bullshit. But it's
that's
just
like
one
what you'd use in Oregon to get rid of a whale.
But that's just one of the statements that's one of the statements that the FSB has made on this, that it's 500 grams of TNT, which is just not true. Like, that's just not how bombs work. So now we're gonna get to some. We're gonna close off here by talking about the aftermath and the televised funeral, because it's kind of funny. So family, friends, dozens of colleagues and acquaintances of Daria Dugina got together live on TV on the Tuesday after her death to bid their final farewell to the quote unquote journalist killed in the car bomb attack outside of Moscow. That's quoting from TASS, one of the Russian state-funded media outlets. I'm gonna read a quote from Alexander Dugin, who, this is something he said on the televised funeral. Quote, "She had no fear, really. And the last time we talked was at the festival Tradition. She said, 'Daddy, I feel like a warrior. I feel like a hero. I want to be with my country. I want to be on the light side of the force.'"
Oh, she's with a lot of Russian people now.
She's with about 50,000 or so other Russians right now. So.
I just love that, like, Dugin saying that his daughter walked up to her and said, "Daddy, I want to be on the light side of the force." She's like in her mid-30s. Like, what the fuck?
I mean, a significant chunk of her body mass was converted into light.
I just said that. I don't know. I just think it's a really funny thing that Dugin was saying on this televised funeral. It's just a bizarre quote. He also said that he wanted to bring up his daughter the way that he saw the ideal person to be, saying, quote, "The first words that we taught her as a child were Russia, our state, our people, and our empire," unquote. Which again, none of this is true. Like, he's just bullshitting, but it's just like a weird thing to say at your daughter's funeral.
Nah, you gotta look. He got a daughter. It's like any other kind of investment, right? Like, and since she's been exploded, you got to get as much as you can. Like, really, it's like wringing out a towel. You know, you got to just make that last little bit count.
And then Vladimir Putin, a few days after the assassination, signed a decree to award her with the Order of Courage posthumously. So
she did explode courageously.
So yeah, that's the assassination of Dugin's daughter. It's wild because we don't really actually know. We don't really know who actually did it. We don't know much about the actual event. We're unsure of the actual like ignition of the bomb, how the bomb actually operated, who actually did it. I mean, obviously, like this, whether Dugin himself was a target or was specifically Daria Dugina, Now, obviously, this was like heavily planned based off of her and Dugin's schedule, right? Because they were both openly going to be at this fascist cultural festival.
Anyone could have access to.
Yeah, but like it did require people were tracking their movements, being like, oh, Dugin's going to be at this festival on this day. So like there is a lot of like background work that went into this. And it's fascinating that we actually know very little about who may have done this and how the bomb actually operated.
The primary clue we have is just how good the bomb was, which means one way or the other a nation state actor probably, but that does not really narrow it much.
So that was again one of the assassinations that happened shortly after we planned Assassination Week.
And
you're like, oh my gosh, after it's what man, like it
easily our most successful PR campaign.
One of our best bits today.
It's just so wild to think of like how close Dugin was to dying. Because remember, like he was planning to leave in that same car, and then at the last minute decided to take separate vehicles.
So was he behind her when it went off, or like?
Yeah.
That's why we got that great photo
of him walking up to the site. Ooh.
We should point this out too. Like, if it had actually been like 500 grams of TNT, like that bomb would have still been exploding when he walked up to it. Like, we would have a picture of him going, "Oh my god!" and then just his face would explode.
But no, I mean, like a lot of conspiracy theories that popped up, being like, "Well, Dugin was supposed to be in that car, and then he left last minute. Maybe he was in on it. Maybe the Russian state told him this was going to happen, and he just let it happen and it was doing it for like this PR thing, and like who knows, maybe Dugin did know that this was going to happen. Like there's no way to, like, you're just speculating at that point. You're just creating theories in your own head. But it is kind of funny that Dugin almost was in that car and then wasn't, and that is that is at the very least an interesting aspect of this assassination. But it's no evidence for one specific thing, right?
Yeah,
it could just be like, oh, I'm gonna make a stop somewhere on my way back home, right? Like, so I'm gonna take this other vehicle. Like, there's so many other possible reasons for why he may have switched cars. But it is another like thing that people are turning into various theories.
Yeah, the thing I'll say about that is, like, you have to have a lot of faith in your bomb maker to drive behind a car bomb. Like, intentionally, you've got to be real. Like, and I don't know.
Either that, or you really hate your daughter in a way that's very reckless.
Yeah, but you could just like turn off the highway or something, or like, oh no, my car broke down.
No,
like,
you need to make sure that bitch goes down.
Right behind.
you got to drop her.
You got to press the big plunger into the box.
Yeah. Well, at least we're ending on a high note.
Oh. Yeah. After. Yeah.
I do like that we started Assassination Week with a car bomb, and we're ending it with a car bomb.
500 grams of TNT, she declared the nearest church, no doubt.
Yeah.
It's like poetry. Yeah. It's like poetry. It rhymes. And I want to be on the light side of the force. Quote, fine. According to Dugin, one of the last things Daria Dugin said, I want to be on the light side of the force.
Somebody, if there were real journalists left in the world, somebody would reach out to George Lucas and just try to get a quote. And don't email him. It's like, just go to a mall near Skywalker Ranch and wait until he goes to the Sparrow. You'll find him. All right, we're done.
That does it for us today. Check under your driver's side door if you're Alexander Dugin. Imagine if he wasn't if he wasn't involved or wasn't aware of this, he is going to be looking over his shoulder like nonstop now.
Yeah, it's
awesome. This is a man who's never getting into a car he hasn't like shimmied under.
He's going to have to look under every car he gets into. It's so funny. We love to see it. Anyway, ta-ta.
All right, we're done. Hey, we'll be back Monday with more episodes every week from now until the heat death of the universe.
It Could Happen Here is a production of Cool Zone Media. For more podcasts from Cool Zone Media, visit our website, coolzonemedia.com, or check us out on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to podcasts. You can find sources for It Could Happen Here updated monthly at coolzonemedia.com/sources. Thanks for listening.
Hey everyone, it's Emily Simpson and Shane Simpson from the Legally Brunette podcast.
Each week, we're bringing you true crime through a legal lens.
Whether you want all the facts on the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie or you still need to wrap your head around the Diddy verdict, we're breaking it all down step by step.
And we're not just lawyers, we're also husband and wife. It makes for some pretty entertaining episodes.
Listen to Legally Brunette on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
You know Roald Dahl. He fought up Willy Wonka in the BFG. But did you know he was a spy? In the new podcast, The Secret World of Roald Dahl, I'll tell you that story and much, much more.
What?
You probably won't believe it either.
Was this before he wrote his stories? It must have been.
Okay, I don't think that's true.
I'm telling you, the guy was a spy.
Listen to The Secret World of Roald Dahl on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
I actually drop better when I'm high. It heightens my senses, calms me down. If anything, I'm more careful. Honestly, it just helps me focus.
That's probably what the driver who killed a 4-year-old told himself. And now he's in prison. You see, no matter what you tell yourself, if you feel different, you drive different. So if you're high, just don't drive. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Hi, I'm Danielle Robay, host of Bookmarked, the podcast by Reese's Book Club. And this week on Bookmarked, we're basically hosting the ultimate girls' night. Reese Witherspoon, Jennifer Garner, Judy Greer, Rita Wilson, Angari Rice, and author Laura Dave. These are the women behind season 2 of the Apple TV series, The Last Thing He Told Me. We're talking about turning a book into a hit show and what it really takes to bring a story to life.
The most important metric for me is, do I want to share this book with somebody? That's what creates community, and that's the main thesis of our book club and why we started it, was just to connect people together.
Listen to the Bookmarked by Reese's Book Club podcast on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
This is an iHeart podcast. Guaranteed Human.